knowledge of the universe is part of us. It was given to every being as we are part of the Creator, and the Creator is us. The Keshe Foundation was created to become an oasis of universal knowledge and the place where the science meets the soul of the man. Mehran Tavakoli Keshe, the founder and director of the Keshe Foundation, has set humanity on the path of peace, teaching us all that there are sufficient and abundant resources available to everyone without the need for abuse of other beings for the benefit of one. It all started with one man and his comprehensive research shared within smaller groups of people at the Keshe Foundation Center, and soon expanded to an entire community of knowledge seekers working in the direction of peace. In 2014, following the nuclear disaster in Fukushima, a complete blueprint teaching is released with information on how to decontaminate radioactive environments. Live broadcast of the decontamination is made from an independent laboratory in Japan, proving that the technology works. In 2015, Magrav's blueprint teachings bring to life the possibility of harvesting plasma fields that are found freely in the environment as continuous sources of energy needed for space travel. The Peace Blueprint, Spaceship Blueprint, and Agriculture Blueprints follow. KFSSI education has expanded since to teachings in over 18 languages, spreading the new Keshe plasma science and technology to every corner of the world. Keshe Foundation Wikipedia was created and is building up with the support of the community. The first plasma science journal that accepts Keshe plasma scientific papers without peer review became a part of the monthly Keshe Foundation publication, KF Plasma Times, already reaching its 12th edition in June 2019. All this time, Mehran Keshe has openly invited all the world's governments to join the Keshe Foundation in the ethos of peace and equality to learn the path to the universal community. The Keshe Foundation Manufacturing Austria, active since 2017, has been working closely with the Chinese Research Center. World-leading plasma scientists with intrinsic motivation work around the clock with their heart and soul to develop and improve the plasma products. Research and development in Austria confirm the power of the Keshe plasma technology and encourages the team to follow the vision to be a valuable part of the worldwide network of communities with the aim of establishing peace on Earth through the benefits of Keshe plasma technology. The research and results presented in the past months confirm the correctness of the technology, which cannot be ignored. In China, high-scale trials have been conducted and validated for their results. In October 2018 in China, the processing of diabetes was brought to the public, where the person's eye could not open and the diabetic wound on the leg would not close for 3 months. In only 6 weeks, with GAN's plasma processing, diabetes was reversed, and with it, the eye and leg wounds recovered as well. In China, the agricultural trials showed an early maturing time of wheat processed with GAN's water. The rice, millet grains, beans and corn processed with GAN's water showed an increase in size and higher resistance to plant diseases. The end of 2018 revealed the success in processing African swine fever using Keshe plasma technology in China. In November 2018, the first pig in China was processed, saving its life after months of suffering. The second case involved 30 pigs that recovered entirely. The third case in China consisted of 829 pigs that had confirmed from the laboratory blood tests as being infected with African swine fever. The pigs were dying until the research team intervened and started the GAN's plasma processing, saving 725 pigs and bringing them back to a healthy condition in only 7 days. All the work that has been done by the Keshe Foundation teams has the purpose of bringing humanity in line with the universal community, to be able to travel the space of the universe, to be able to handle defense systems in deep space, to be prepared for any unpredicted situations, and to be able to sustain a healthy and comfortable life during space exploration. After all these years of hard work, the Keshe Foundation is proud to invite you all today to celebrate, as knowledge seekers, the long-awaited milestone. It is a day when we make history. It is the day that many generations after us will remember as the day the future of humanity changed. These undoubted successes worldwide and in China have brought the Keshe Foundation a partnership with the most powerful nation in the world, the Chinese nation, establishing the first joint company in partnership with Chinese government organizations under the name Keshe GAN's technology. The new company, which is financed by the Chinese government organizations, has a registered capital of 100 million euros and invested capital of 1 billion euros for building the first Keshe Foundation industrial zones in China. Furthermore, by written agreement, the Chinese partnership has made available billions of dollars for total development and commercialization of the technology in China. Keshe Foundation, as equal 50% partner in the established company, will provide the technology and the science, while all the financial, economic and political support will be provided by the Chinese partners. This is to start the construction of the Keshe Foundation industrial zones in China. Each industrial zone will provide all that a nation requires according to its location and needs. The clear proof of technology has brought the leading nation of the world to back and finance every aspect needed to spread and commercialize Keshe plasma science and technology in China and worldwide. The state-of-the-art construction of the Keshe Foundation industrial zones provided by the Chinese nation will include the development and application of every aspect of the Keshe GAN's technology, with GAN's manufacturing facilities and the addition of technological divisions needed by the nation, including agriculture, health, decontamination, energy, transportation, and space travel, etc. It is the wish of the Chinese leadership to spread the wealth and expertise of the Chinese nation to other nations of the world through the One Belt, One Road initiative of His Excellency President Xi of China. Keshe Foundation, with its technology and its industrial capabilities, which are now financed by China, will support the initiative of the President in delivering the same to other nations through the cooperative between Keshe Foundation China and the One Belt, One Road program. With this joint collaboration of the Keshe Foundation Technologies and One Belt, One Road initiative, nations will not be burdened with debt. Instead, this alliance will bring to the nations the possibility of growth and development equally via the One Belt, One Road initiative through science, commerce and education. As this announcement is being made, a number of countries are in negotiation and a memorandum of understanding is being signed with Keshe Foundation for this purpose, leading to the construction of industrial zones in their region. The Keshe Foundation, in conjunction with the Chinese partners as financing arm, was setting up the Center of Excellence in China for scientists from all around the world. There will be up to 5 main research centers outside China, and at the same time, China has become the Center of Excellence for space technology. The initial structure is established to bring the most eminent world scientists to expand the Keshe Foundation plasma technology. There are no limitations on the financial side from the Chinese partners as long as we bring new technologies, new sciences and new applications for peace. This is the peace dividend. There is no need for any nations to spend money on arms for killing, but there will be sufficient financial backing for saving lives and developing new technologies. In the coming months, Keshe Foundation industrialization will expand beyond anyone's imagination. Most nations will become food secured at national level and will be able to produce their own products, their own materials. New industrial machinery for the Keshe plasma technology is to be developed in China, bringing a new cycle of jobs to produce systems that allow farmers to achieve large-scale production in agriculture. We will build and achieve the same systems for environment, medicine, transportation, space and materials. We are opening the doors to the new science, and thanks to the Office of His Excellency President Xi of China, the Keshe Foundation has been given the opportunity to move forward. A new industrial revolution is here. This is now becoming possible as the Keshe Foundation received a powerful ally in China, standing alongside the true knowledge and supporting further developments to bring a prosperous and fearless life to humankind. We are looking forward to making one nation in structure by spreading knowledge and technology. As one structure, we are very powerful because for the first time the power of changing our lives, looking after our health, looking after our agriculture, looking at the clean water, looking after our shelter is in our hands. The change is here. The change is now. Celebrate with us the new beginning for mankind. Keshe GAN's Technologies Limited.
Welcome, everyone, to the 283rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, July 4th, 2019. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute and is part of the Public Teachings in English. I'm your host, Rick Cramen, today, and with Flint Melhausen. And as for the last 282 Knowledge Seekers workshops, we are with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation, who is ready to go with today's teaching and news from the Keshe Foundation, I believe. Are you there, Mr. Keshe?
We hope so. Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you as usual. Whenever you listen to these public teachings. As you have heard and you're aware, we have entered a new cycle, a new horizon, as was announced last week and the week before. And this now puts us in a position to be able to change the direction of the work of the foundation, at the same time be positive in what we can achieve. As I was talking in the public teachings a couple of days ago and last night, the whole thing since last week announcement and the week before announcement has changed for the foundation. In a way that since past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, since the company has been set up, now the global operation of Keshe Foundation from the United States, we are not asked anymore, can you prove the technology? Is there proof for it? We are told now in the meetings we had, we want to invest, we want to be part of it. Where and how much and what can we put in it? The whole situation has escalated to one of the breakthrough, to a condition that we all understand now is time for the change. It's time for understanding the totality. And interesting is that all the, what we call show us, show me, has finished. Now is, I want to be, we are ready, when can we start? The amount of the finance has broken the conditions and broken the whole questioning. You got to understand, our partners are not private. Our partners are part of what we call the national structure, and nothing happens unless they're allowed to and everything has been approved by. In this way, the trust is building up internationally, and in so many ways, in the coming weeks, after a lot of teething, which is still going on, I think we still have another 6 months before we become steady completely to be put in the right place and position. Then we'll see the rapid developments around the world as we are planning now. It's got to be said that the first factory is already earmarked. In the next 6 to, months, will be in a full production. We are hoping to give the factory, which is a massive, over 250,000 square meters of land and factory space, to become a gift to the Chinese nation on the anniversary of the 70th year of the revolution of Chinese revolution. It will be fine and it will be nice for us to achieve it, and it will be one of the biggest gifts to the nation. It is positive, brings a lot of good things, and with it, in the next few days, as I've been told yesterday, we are ready for the American operation to come into kickoff. Everything has been done, is in the hand of our people in the US, and hopefully they can start it off this next week or two, and then that will give us a different dimension. The whole structure now is to repair all the damages of past 12 months, which is not a repair, it's just that we had to go through a process of concentrating on selling few pads or few what we call maggraph system, or setting up a structure that where we can change the whole water supply secure for a nation in millions of tons, in securing food security. The scale of the work of the foundation has changed from one to the other. we still support those who are trying to build up magnet system and selling pads and keeping the foundation in public domain. But at the same time, most of the energy of us in this new organization is to bring national food security, to bring clean water, change of environment, rapid development in health. This is paramount for us. At the same time, we try to support in other ways, like what you have seen that started with the Keshe Foundation, the pads, the pens, and everything else. That was the proof of the concepts, and in so many ways we have proven a lot. So you will see our structure changes, and we will support those who are in this game, who are trying to help to set up things. The production cost for the foundation will become so important in a mass production that we can support those who worked with us and they're around us. Those who abuse the foundation, they know we have to put things right. We don't refuse anything, but in the process, we have a lot of us have learned a lot of things. We are not there to what we call be arrogant. We are there to be humble. And with what we have achieved, to share with everyone. In this process, in the coming weeks, there'll be a lot of movement. There'll be a lot of changes. You will see not change of course, but a change in the style of reaching public. Because now we are working for nations. We have moved into that domain. So in the process, as you will see, small factory setups like Italy and Austria and Arizona is not viable for us to run. But we keep the companies going as now we change them into the national organizations. Arizona becoming the headquarters of the operation in the United States, North America, will get a massive financial boost in the coming weeks. Everything is in the process, but you have to understand, we are in a governmental structure. Everything takes time. We are not dealing with the private sector, a businessman or a head of company can make a decision and we go. Here, everything is primarily before all agreed. Now we have to wait for the right man to be at the right table at the right, that's the right day, which is favorable that it gets signed, and then we start. So if we need signatures, before was one man, now we are in a apparatus of the government structure. It takes 3 weeks, what it used to take 1 minute, because everything has to be correct. So do not expect that everything will go soon. Tomorrow morning is there. We've learned that in a very good way. The Chinese way, take your time, make sure it's done, and when it's done correctly. So we announced, we waited a month, we announced it where it is. Now we are going through the teething now. Everything else has to be set up. The sites have to be set up. The factory structure has to be set up. Everything else which is part of the organization this large needs to be set up and at the Chinese pace. But when they move very fast when everything is in the position. So in the coming weeks, you might not see much, but in the coming months, you will see a lot. This is a pattern of working with governments, officials, and everything else. There is no hurry, because when it comes out, it has to be 100% correct. As is part of the work of this structure. At the same time, we try to match and link up the Keshe Foundation global operation in the United States with the Chinese. There is a reason for it. We have transferred 10% of the national holding of the Keshe Foundation Global to the Chinese operation, that it become merged together. There is another nation which has been invited to carry another 10% of this organization. In due course, we'll announce, because we need these two. We need 3 governments for us to move in the right direction, and we are waiting for the 3rd one to say yes, that they would like to be part of it. This will allow us to still hold to majority shareholding, but it gives us international, what we call dimensions, more strength to be able to do things much faster. As I said, a lot of people are hoping that we go fast, but building up a space center, building up a research centers, bringing world scientists together to work together, trusting each other, is going to be a lot of hard work. And at the same time, as I said before, once this another company is setting up with another 3 or 4 months teething problem, I resigned from the position to totally be committed to research internationally. There's a lot of good news coming out, a lot of things, positive things happening. But for those of you who are working on the fringes of the foundation with making little things and trying to run those websites, we will give you a support or will take a part in your organization. Those are you who are professional, we bring you in to be part of the bigger structure. We finance most probably through the structure that we cover both sides. But this is the time in due course. Our investments, all the what we call industrial zones, minimum area, those of you who are looking to take us into your countries, minimum land is 250,000 square meter, 250,000 square meter is the minimum land earmarked. Minimum building site is around 60 to 80,000 square meter. I know a lot of people want to take this technology on. This will be done in the next 6 months. We start the structuring. The first of these, as part of the peace talk, as we said, is the commitment towards the United States and Iran. We invest in both nations accordingly in the same strength that we build a trust. I've been asked, and as we've seen since last Saturday and Sunday, the meetings of the North Korean with the American president, we were aware of this some 2 weeks ago before it happens. We knew it's going to happen. The intelligence for us was very clear. I have a huge concern as Iranian nuclear physicist. I have met the Iranian officials in the past few days, and my concern is very clear. The move of Iran to start enriching and making more uranium is not part of what has to be. In the agreement which was made with the administration of Obama, we made sure there is a clause, there is a very small sentence which looks after this. This was the concern of the negotiators of the American government when we were negotiating. In case Obama administration changes, which has done now, they were hoping that Clinton will come to power, that someone might do exactly what Trump has done. And for that reason, we built a 4 sentence in the agreement. It was agreed. It's just it's just 4 letters, 4 words has been put into the agreement for eventuality of where we are now. And my advice has been, and my advice goes to the opposite side of Khamenei Iran, the Iranian president, stop enriching. Stop the process. You have been protected. Use the contract. Use what has been agreed internationally. Do not give excuse for them to use. We covered you in the contract. When you read it, in the paragraph where it allows you to reduce 10,000 kilogram to 300 kilogram, we especially put 4 words in there to protect Iranian nations for such an eventuality. My request from the outside of Khamenei is please stop the enrichment. We do not need it to aggravate, to create conditions. The same goes with producing more materials. I have discussed with your diplomats in past few days, that process has to be triggered. You are fully aware of it. Please contact your what we call diplomats who carry the information and the message. We knew this might happen one day. It was one of our biggest fear when the agreement was getting drawn up. And we put 4 letters into the Iranian contract with 5+1 to cover us. We are covered. I advise the Iranian government, please do not enrich. Please do not pass 300 kilogram. If you pass 300 kilogram, we put a specific order in there. We could see financial sanctions is in there for it done. I have advised your officers in how to trigger the process. We were the creator of the contract. We know exactly where it sits. If you speak to your diplomats, They will tell you they carry the information. They speak to your ambassador. It should be in the foreign office in Tehran by now. We do not need to enrich. We stay correct with what we agreed with the European community, 5+1, and the Chinese government. We are well protected. In the steps Iran has taken in past few days is the trap which you're walking into and we do not need. From now on, the national security is at risk and you are protected. We protected you in the contract. It's in there. Read the paragraph of the agreements where it starts conversion of 10,000 to 300 kilo. There are 4 words in a specific sentence comes after certain position that clears you, gives you the right to produce, but it gives you a right to do other things that in the same time, if there is any boycott, according to the contract signed, you have financial income without any boycotts. We knew this might come in. My word goes the same to American administration. You know where it sits. Do not play games. You're all the same family. This is what we do not need. And we have to obey by what we have signed or what we agreed. The problem at the moment is the Americans have put all the sanctions. We are not part of the contract. We don't accept any of it. And then they go back to it and they say they are breaking the law in what they agreed. President Trump decide if you're a camel or an ostrich, it can't be both. If you have broken the agreement, you cannot go back that Iran passes the point of enrichment. You have created the condition. It's very simple. Return back to total discussion. Some corrections which both sides might be happy with, or we don't need to negotiate. Or American administration cannot say we walk away, disregard it, and then they say they passed what they agreed. This cannot be done. Secondly, the Iranian administration has to know, in that paragraph we have allowed you to bypass any financial sanctions. You can bring all the money you have outside Iran into Iran officially through this contract. Is written in it. I have advised your diplomats. We speak very open. So I hope both sides understand, but the Iranian government, you should not go the way you've gone. This is not to create agitation. We do not need it. When the negotiation was done, I made sure Iran is protected. We could see this is done, and now you understand how well I know the contract. We go back to our teaching. I was talking to one of these, what we call them knowledge seekers. A very good one. I don't see him here today. And I was hoping he'll be here. He was supposed to come and teach, but I think he's asleep. We going through further teaching. We see gaps in the knowledge or gaps in linking the information. What does this mean? This means that a lot of you have not grasped the idea, the understanding of the teaching. Or you have missed it because you're not nuclear physicists, you're not chemists, you're not biologists, and you cannot follow the link of science. But in a way, when we explain, you see it very clearly. I would like to start with what I call the food. If you look at the body of the man, I always explain in all the teachings that the man does not need to eat, and man, what he eats is a small part of what he needs. What this means is, Rick, could you please always keep a picture because we have a very weak transmission. If we lose it, we can go back into it. What is important is that we have the body of the man. I'm not a very good drawer, but let's see what we can do. In process of our eating, what we do in the world of science, we have not understood one part of the work. And this part of the work is, if you go back in all the teaching, I said, we take 80% of our energy from outside and 20% of what we eat. But another part of the teaching, which is important and you must have forgotten somewhere, we explained, now you understand why we received the 80%. You know what we always said, the stronger plasma feeds the weaker plasma. What you see as the body of the man is weaker plasma. Now that we understand the body of the man is not in a matter state and is in a Ganser state, then you understand how we are getting fed. At the same time, as now we understand that the soul of the man was within the structure of the man, it should not be very difficult for all of us to find out how we can feed the soul of the man. And how the soul of the man gets fed through the strength, through the universal dimensions of energies. Then we can ask a question, then why do we eat? How do we eat? What's the function of eating? In so many ways, we say we eat this and that, and it gets absorbed in the stomach and then becomes part of the body of the man. If you understood the technology of the plasma science in totality, you will understand that the body of the man, when you eat the food, it transfers to gases, to energy packs. So this should have given mankind a new understanding. You remember, you put the stronger to the weaker and you feed from it. Now every time you eat, part of the function of it is to create plasma condition in the body of the man, which allows what it needs to take from the environment of the space for its physical condition.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I think I've lost the audio. Is it just me or have we lost his audio?
We lost him.
Lost him.
Okay. Okay, we're not hearing you yet, Mr. Keshe. Oh, I think he's dropped out. He did mention he might have some issues with the connection today. So bear with us while he reconnects. Hello, Mr. Keshe, are you there yet? Not able to hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Now we
Can you
can.
hear? Okay,
Yep.
no problem. Somehow two systems failed at the same time.
I've got a screenshot of what you had up on the whiteboard.
Okay, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we wait till the other line comes up. So what happens, I'm gonna annotate on your board, okay?
Okay.
So what we going, pardon?
Yeah, this is just a screen. This isn't the whiteboard, but you should be able to annotate on that. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, should be no problem. I'm just going to increase it. So in this process, what we said, now we understand that the plasma transfer comes through the what we eat. The body of the man transfers the material which we digest into a gaseous state. So in that process, as it becomes a gas state, it becomes a weaker state of the gas. So in the process of itself, it creates a weak conditions so that it absorbs energy from the environment. So now you understand why 80% of the food comes from the outside and 20% is what the material has delivered to create a condition that the energy can be pulled from the environment. This is why we see the aura of the body of the man. Because the energy transfer from the itself, what is converted, creates a new condition one to absorb. This is, if understood fully, will explain why we run into diseases, why we run into old age, why at certain position and strength our body misfunctions. This, if understood, will change the game of the whole feeding, and it changes the game of medicine. Because now we manage to understand, and we do not need, as I said, to feed the body of the man. We only need to, what we call, place a weaker energy inside the body that in position of itself, it leads to absorption of new energies from environment of its atmosphere where it could be. So in this process, if you understand, the eating of the food is actually creating a weak position inside the body of the man with a constant cover of what he has. Just to, as it's weaker, it absorbs more energy from the environment. So the whole process of mankind connecting his eating to his food and life takes a different understanding from now on. Then you will understand in the due course, when we change the solid food or whatever food man takes into the gas state of the matter itself, then as you take the packages of the gases, depending on the weakness you create, you decide what you absorb from the environment of the space. This changes the whole game of feeding. This changes the whole national food security of the nations. We do not need to go and buy an apple. We need to create a condition of the apple which what it carries into the stomach of the body of the man. And in that condition, it absorbs what it needs from the environment. Depends as the knowledge develops to understand what the strength of which apple creates and absorbs what energy. Now, after years, you can fully understand why this 80% of the energy we always said it comes from the environment. The whole universal community, the whole work of what we call universe is on this basis. But man up to now has never understood. So when it comes to the time of disaster, when it comes to the point of deep space travel, we do not even need to put
the matter or the GANs of the matter in the body of the man. We just need to deliver the energy of the matter, what it needs to be absorbed from environment of the space. This is how man will be fed even through the dimension of the strength of his soul. That through it, it will feed the body of the man in this collective interaction. Now, many of you should be able to understand, to develop technologies that it allows man to exist in the space independent of any food resources. This is what will be delivered through the new space technology. Creation of the environment to deliver, not creation of the matter to kill for. These technologies are the backbone of mankind to be able to enter in the dimension of the universal direction of the life, where you do not need to kill, but in a very simple way, you can enter an arena, a room, a cabinet, that the energy delivered gives you whatever you need and take from you whatever you don't need. The introduction of the new systems are in progress. In a coming time, we will show you the systems where you can enter a room and take what you need, balance your system in a way, walk away from cancer and walk in with what it needs. Is there a need for data collection per person? Not really, because there is another system which has already been developed by Keshe Foundation and all of you know it, but because you don't understand the implication of it, you have never followed the process. In this process, you will understand that the man enters. Let me close one and I go to that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, there's an echo.
Okay, now it's better.
Yeah.
So what it happens is that from now on, in the dimension of space technology, in the dimension of the disaster, we do not need to worry in how we can reach people, how we can feed people, how we can secure health. This is what are the major breakthroughs which will come with what we have and will go through the Chinese structure in the research centers. In this process, for the first time, we make man independent of the planet altogether, because now we understand the operation of the body of the man through its own structure. We always said that an atom is a plasma, has got a magnetic field, and we said that the gas is a plasma, has got a magnetic field. In past 72 hours, scientists in the world have confirmed and shown for the first time magnetic field of an atom. In a due course, we'll take it further, and then you can see the difference between the magnetic field strength of an atom and magnetic field strength of the what we call a gas. And at the same time, the scientists have proven each atom magnetic field has a fingerprint of its own. So we can say if this atom is from iron, or this atom is from copper, or zinc, or hydrogen. The new development in technology, which is announced in South Korea, opens a new dimension, confirming the correctness of the Keshe Foundation technology as a plasma, as being a plasma and creating an interaction in a magnetic field in this environment. This is a major confirmation of the technology. We have already started trying to get in touch with the scientists developed, and now we can measure actually magnetic field of one gas and compare it to an atom, see what's the dimension difference. And we can take it further, because now the technology has become available for the first time to confirm the strength of the field of a single atom. I'm sure in due course, the scientists will create a much stronger mini MRI that they can show even the plasma, the strength of the plasma of an electron. So what we started in developing and confirming the existence of the plasma and creation of its own field, now scientifically has been proven. We cannot show you the document, the paper, because I don't understand if we can do legally through what is just been published. Rick, do we have any shape or form that we can show this? Or is the copyright?
Yeah, there is one. Let me just get it there. Hang on.
In a way, this confirms what we said. An atom is a plasma because it has the same as Earth. It creates its own magnetic and light around it. And for the first time, we can see this an atom as a single atom. And we're trying to get the single, what we call GANs to be tested, because then we can confirm each GANs has different strength. And that we can show how energy is transferred. Confirmation of the technology typically available. And if you understand this, and we show magnetic field of a head or a copper or a zinc, then we can see it. This is the world's smallest MRI performance on the single atom. And where you see the what you call the yellow lines is the balanced magnetic field. So for the first time, the scientists have shown that an atom magnetic gravitational field interaction with this environment using MRI magnetic resonance is possible. And this confirms our own work on our developments from past years, which we confirm the atom is a plasma, and now a free plasma will show totally different reaction in a gas state than in an atomic state. And it is very interesting that how, as you read, the professors and the scientists can speak about direction of a spin and everything else which is available. This is a major breakthrough for confirmation of technology, confirmation of what we said, and now we can literally show different magnetic field and why gases work and how we can measure it from now on. Because the next steps from MRI, this is literally a visualization of what we showed in the Sano by putting two fields across each other in the path of the motion of the fields. Two field detectors could detect both and give us the balance, and we could see it. Now we see the same thing scientifically is available visually that it can confirm. So in this process, as we understand, as the dynamic condition of the plasma creates in its interaction with its environment, light and fields interaction leads to creation of it, a new cycle of science and technology has opened up. And in that process, we can even measure how much what we eat is needed by our body and what we do not need, that it converts back into the matter state. Can I have the board back, please? In this process, there is a need for understanding and of a number of what we call technologies. In the process, I have lost my thingy. I've lost my capability to draw.
Deannotate. Can you?
I'm trying to do it here. I cannot reduce. I cannot.
Maybe you do the double click in the middle.
I've done everything. It's strange. On one screen, I see different than the other screen. It's okay. We'll reduce it and we come back to the other one. What is important is that in the process of interaction of the fields, we see different dimensions. We see different application. And in that process, we end up with a new understanding of even the functioning of the digestion system of the man. How do we digest things? How do we establish to understand up to now what we thought is actually not what we assume to be? In a way, if you understood what was spoken about in past few minutes, by eating food, we put the markers up. These are the energies we need from space, more of. We show a little of it, the universe brings the rest of it. And in that process, many of us now can start a new cycle of the operation of the work of the body of the man. And it changes a lot of things for a lot of us in totally understanding the physiology of the body of the man. How, with this new knowledge, we can change a lot of things. We can change totality of the what we call work and life of the man on this planet. If we take the knowledge a step further, then we understand that there is a need for filling some gaps in the knowledge. There's a need for correcting some of the knowledge which has been gathered by now. Which means, in reality, we have to reconsider a number of teachings, bring them together, collectively understand what has been happening in our digestion system, what we calculated, what we assumed does not apply anymore. And in totality, a new look, a new understanding, even for the digestion system of the man is needed. Let me explain to you exactly what this means. The operation of the body of the man runs in 3 scales or in 3 levels at the same time. You have a scale or a dimension of what we call the energy you consume. You need an intermediary which allows the energy which is needed to be connected to what we call the construction of the physicality of the man. The soul of the man operates somewhere in this region. The physicality of the man operates somewhere in this region. And you need to bring the balance between these two. Somebody's microphone is open. You need to... Rick, somebody's microphone is open. You need to bring and understand what is the connection between these two. Then you come to understand one thing: salt. If you look into
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Lost you at if you look into, I think.
Yes, he dropped, yeah.
Can you hear
Hello,
me?
Mr. Keshe, can you hear me?
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, we can barely hear you there.
It's okay, I have to change switch over. Just 1 second. Can you hear?
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's better. Yes, thank you.
That's better, okay. So what you will understand in the operation of the body of the man is a very simple thing, that why salts are the main component of the body of the man. Without the salt, there is no life. Because the salts are the connection between what you call, I'm trying to get the other line back 1 second, please. The salts sit on this side. The S, what we call the radiation, sits on this side. Your metals, which the body of the man is made of, sit in the center. And then in that process, you understand clearly what the salts do. If you look at the salts, let's look at one bracket of it, which is the sodium, and then you have a potassium, you have a magnesium, and you have calcium. Then you look at the radiations on each level, where you have everything else. Rick, can you bring up the periodic table with both numbers, if you have access to, then people can see easier.
Okay.
In this process, you will see very quickly how part of the knowledge which has been taught before and never understood, now you understand. You will understand the salts play double game and the salts play energy game. What does this mean? If you look at the structure of what we call the salts, are you sharing? I need the ones with the double figures, the other figures underneath as well, like the one which says iron is 56 or 57.
Right, okay.
Yeah. In this process, what you will see while Rick is trying to sort this out is a very interesting point. I have to take this. Oh, he took it off. Are you coming back?
Yeah, I'll just have to find a different image for that information. Okay, there's a, I think this is the one we want. Okay, let me put it back just a second.
Just 1 second, you carry on. Yes, that's the perfect one. So in this process, you will see something very strange, and people up to now never understood why we have salts, why the salts, why we depend on this salt for the polar structure and the salinity of the structure. What you will see is a very interesting effect. I try to, somebody's microphone is open. I try to explain this in a very simple way. And that is, if you pay a close attention to the whole process of the salts, you see something very interesting.
Let's look at two salts. If you take sodium, I need a thicker one. If you take sodium and then you take potassium, (22-23) with 39-40. You can see. If you look at 62, you compare with zinc, or you end up with copper. So now you understand why we need the salt. The salts, if you look at the sodium and chlor, look at the chlor, look at the sodium. 35, 23, 22, 57. The place mimics, because now we understand in the body of the man is not a matter state anymore, but it's a gas state. So you see how the understanding of the science of the man changes. The salts, in different combination of their work, mimic the metal, the element which makes the construction of the physicality of the man. And in that process, if you work backwards with the same system, in interaction between the salts themselves, you will find a very simple thing, where you have, let's say, sodium and magnesium, both chloride, which is part of the salt of the body of the man. You get the interaction in difference between the two. So you have 24 minus 22, or 23 minus 24. Then you're left with hydrogen. So the body of the man, in the interaction of the salts with the dimension of the physicality, play both, mimicking the metal to get what they are connected to, and in interaction release the energy which the body needs to live. Then you understand how salinity brings different dimension of life and connection between the dimension of physicality and the dimension with the life of the man in the totality of understanding of the science. Those of you who can go deeper into this, those of you who can actually go and understand this in its fundamental structure, the work of the salts, the energy balance in gravitational magnetic fields, then you come to understand a full fundamental operation needed for life of the man in space. Then you understand why life depends on salt, because it's a connection between the energy of the man and connection with the physicality of the man. But as an intermediary, in different salinity, in different dilution, in different interaction, allows the creation and interconnection of the cells of the body of the man together. And then when you look at the lymph in the body of the man as a liquid, then you understand how it leads to the separation of the organs, because it's neutral. Whatever is, that's the kidney, in the liquid of the lymph of the body, stays separate, because I am balanced with what it is. If you're weaker, I can take. If you're stronger, I take from you. And in the same process is the energy giver, and at the same time it can nourish the elements of the body of the man.
Then if you can take the understanding a step further, you see the strangest part is that, very simple, that you sit step by step on every level next to a radioactive material, which from it you can take energy, and from it it can give energy. If you look, neon, you have argon, through centralization, through the vacuum condition of the body of the man, will give you everything you need. Now you understand, hopefully, fully, how the body of the man becomes to operate in the dimension of the physicality. Then those of you who are involved or get involved in the operation of the physicality of the man, those of you who get involved in the dimension of understanding the totality of the physicality of the man, you will understand there cannot be life on this planet without salt. Just 1 second, please. And in this process, many of you, especially those of you who are involved in agriculture, those of you who are involved in understanding
Hello, Mr. Keshe. We lost your voice there. Oh, I think he's dropped. Okay, bear with us another minute while Mr. Keshe reconnects.
Hello, can you hear me again?
Yes, go ahead.
Back.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to get everywhere, and at the moment systems are going crazy. So in this process, we understand a simple fundamental totality of the work of the body of the man. And that is half of the total understanding of work of the universe in creating physicality should be very clear to man. And if you understand this process, if you literally go into the detail of understanding of this technology, the way it's taught, and now you understand more of, you will come to realize one thing, that how, by having the access to the soul of the man, you can create the physicality of the man. And what conditions you need to create around the soul of the man to lead to the creation of the physicality. And if we all understand this, and if we all become wise to the totality of the knowledge, then we can understand how we can use the energy of the soul of the man to manifest the physicality of the man in any dimension. Or if we come to understand how the lymph works, which is in a way the absorber of the energy from the universe, it's a dilution source. It's not just that it transfers energy from the food, from the stomach to the cells and back from the cells, what is not needed to the intestine. Then we understand a lot of things, even about the structure of the physicality of the man. How does our digestion system converts energy? How does our digestion system accepts energy? How do we we come to understand why part of our body in one place gives energy, but in one place absorbs energy. If you look in the structure of the intestine and
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So now if we look at the total structure of the physicality of the body of man, keep this in the background, please. I'll come back to it. We find out something very strange, and in a very way, in a way, it's part of the teaching. If you go to the medical teaching, you understand a lot more in how this observes and how it plays. You have the head of the man. Oops, the one I don't like. Okay, this is the head of the man. You have the lung of the man. You have what we call the intestine. You have the bigger intestine, and you have the rest of the discharge system. Then you understand how in this point we give, and in the same liquid, in this point we absorb into the lymph of the body of the man. If we look into the structure of the small intestine, and then we look at the structure of the bigger intestine, we'll observe something very interesting. Here, as we give gases, most of the energy is lost because outside uses, the body of the man uses. So the energy brought from both sides being weaker and being intermediary, the way the doctors work, they put a patch stronger on this side, weaker on this side, and whatever is in between he absorbs. Now the food is the weaker and the universal energy is the stronger. So energy is absorbed into the lip. In a way, the food we eat is a trap to extract energy from the universe. Then it comes the other operation, and the other operation is entirely the same but totally opposite. What does that mean? If you look at the size of the intestine, by creating of the mass of the higher order, it plays totally different. Now here it plays weaker. That what is in the lymph trying to feed it. And that's how what is not needed, which is weaker, becomes weaker to be absorbed, to be extracted. In a way, if you look, if mankind gets educated in the time to come, what you will see as the excrement of the man will carry a lot of energies and dimensions of universal energy. Because we never ate it, but we absorbed it. And it comes as part of it. Here, we use the weaker energy to absorb. Here, we use different salinity, but weaker energy to feed back compared to what has been used that it cannot be extracted. You understand this more if you are involved in the nutrition. Why, for example, does our body carries the smell, the odor of the food we eat? With this understanding, it should be very easy. With this new explanation, you understand easier. Even you understand why the lung of the man works the way it does. what salinity of salt it needs to convert the energy. And then it comes the key. How does the soul of the man receives all it needs from its universe, but in giving back leads to the creation of the physicality of the man in interaction with the magnetic field forces of the planet. But you got to remember, when the man leaves this planet, his connection, as was due to, and never breaks up, will can keep the dimension of the physical appearance of the body of the man if he feels so. Unless he creates a system where he can create a diversion and a break at the level that the physicality of the man changes position in respect to the interaction with the dimension of the fields of the planet Earth. In a way, if you can manage to create a filter that separates the field of the earth from the physical dimension of the soul of the man, now the man will create itself to a new dimension and physicality. And this is how the man in the space will take the shape of his new environment. And if in the spaceships, what we develop, we can create a dynamic condition of the same, we do not need to carry the physicality of the man. Separation of the soul from the dimension of physicality due to its environmental manifestation. It's very much the hydrogen, the water is suspended in the air till we don't create a cold, we won't see the water and the mist on the mirror. The separation is the energy magnetic field in conjunction and interaction with the field strength of the water itself. And if you can add some salt into it, you will see white marks on the wall, leading to confirming the condition of the manifestation of the physical part. Now, maybe you understand how simple life is and can repeat itself in any dimension in the universe. It is very clear. It is absolutely clear now that you understand how to feed the man, how to feed the soul of the man, and then you understand how the soul of the man itself in a dimension, in a structure, uses multi-layers of itself to absorb, and it uses multi-layer of itself to release energy, that it leads the totality to confirmation of its own existence. What does this mean? This is a very simple understanding. If you remember, we always featured this way: magnetical and gravitation. Hydrogen. But what level of hydrogen? In conformation and interaction with which salt? Many hydrogens, depending on the salinity and depending on the salt. Because the position of hydrogen does not change in the strength of the plasma. Condition of the environment which changes. Salinity which changes. Then it comes to a very simple understanding. Does the magnetic gravitational field within the plasma of the creation has and creates different salinity for manifestation of different energies and physicalities? And the answer is yes. Then man understands how he can maintain physicality anywhere in the universe in respect to the position of the interaction of the fields of its own environment and nothing else. And this is applicable to every dimension in the universe. And if mankind understand this, he will understand a simple matter, that here he'll have 20 arms and legs, and here he'll have no arms and legs but the light, and here he needs 2 arms, as his strength will allow it to float as it needs to. Then if you understand this, then we understand how the birds, the fish, and the man are created on this planet. The totality of the knowledge is understanding the process of interaction of the fields of the universe. In micro or in macro. In the body of the man or in the solar system or the galaxy is all the same. When the man becomes educated enough, he will understand and will start looking to what we call the salt of the galaxies, the salt of the universe. Where is the connection between the energy of existence and conformation of manifestation of physicality to the eye of the observer, to the dimension of detection of the observer. This solves a lot of you who could not understand how you interact, how you can change life, how you can change illnesses. None of you with a full understanding of the work of the salts and salinity and the degree of salinity cannot be fully in control of the feeding of the man, of the health of the man, of the shelter of the man. Because if you understand it, you can create all with the dimension of the salinity. In a very simple way, if you create the dimension of salinity that creates interaction of the fields beyond the body of the man, you have created the shelter for the man. That's how simple it is. And if we take this a step further, those of you who understand how to lead to the creation of life, you have by now should have understood what you've been missing in the structure. If you understand the process of the salt, the process of the salinity, the mixture of salts which lead to the creation, in the mixture of understanding of the creation of the energies, reaction of energies, interaction of the fields of the energies with the salt and the state of the matter plasma, then you can understand how simple life can be controlled anywhere in the universe. And in so many ways, those who understand, they never die in the universe. Their life is everlasting. As I said, we fill in the gaps. We try to make it much easier for those of you who understand to be able to complete the cycle. And then for those of you who take it even a step further, you can understand how the system works. Then you can control anything in any dimension in the world of creation. Would you like me to give you energy for one cell, or would you like me to give you energy to light up whole city? If you understand this process, if you take this step further, you will see, as we see the new structure of the what I call physical life and what we see has been created, it takes us not long to release energy systems that you can create light and life.
No, j'ai demandé si
Can you,
dormais.
somebody, I think this is from Togo.
Sinon, mon
Yeah, can you switch him off? Rick? Can you?
To mute, I am not able to mute it. Sorry. Okay, I guess we got it there now.
Zoom has problems.
Okay. Zoom has problems. Okay, no problem. So now you understand how we can produce energies beyond imagination. And this is why the energy system which I built runs out of control. Because it's like the body of the man, it keeps on absorbing more and more energy from the environment of the universe. Those of you who had problem why we can't deliver the energy system, this is our problem. We cannot control the stomach of the system. It becomes so weak that in the strength of weakness absorbs so much that it escalates to more and more and more. But on the other hand, if I release the energy, release the understanding of the technology, I'm sure nobody can sell 1 million barrel of oil or 11 million barrel of oil and boycott the other. Now you understand how simple the whole process is. Those of you who understand, especially people like Alex, they understand, people like Arwen who understood that in the next level of understanding, those of who are in the medical side like Dr. Rodriguez, and those who are in material production, understand how easy we need to attract very simple anything we like. And then you understand, for example, as in the private teaching, as I was explaining recently, past few days, why we have the African continent, we have the Atlantic Ocean, and we have South America, and we transfer life from the African central deserts all the way, we feed everything right across. Because the dust of Africa carries the iron and metal mixtures needed in interaction with the protein of the oceans of Atlantic becomes life, and billions of tons of it in falling over Amazon creates a new life in Amazon. Without Sahara, there will be no life in Amazon. And then we see the carrying on of the process. Then, as I explained in one of the private teachings, if you look at, as they were showing, where the plastic ocean sits, you will find out all the plastic oceans that we are seeing are connected to the protein level where the materials of the protein are connected, which is a COH bond to the CH bond of the plastics. Now, we understand why we have all these plastic islands and why they're appearing in different places, because these are where the amino acid protein, what you call the planktons, start creating. Because in the north, in the Pacific, you get the salt and the metals from Canadian north and from Chinese North China Sea, the metals which they come in and they create the same thing. If you don't understand it, is your copper and nano-coated material, and then you have a bit of iron which you put in, or is inside, it gives you the hemoglobin. And life starts in interaction with the protein. Then you can understand how simple life is if you understand the totality of the knowledge of the science of the plasma in its true essence in the world of creation. You remember when you created the condition of the carbon creation in a CO2 box? Now the amino acids which led to the creation of life calls in the energy sources because of the same origin. Because don't forget, the plastic which you used is the carbon which came from the absorption of the protein originally in the oceans. So now this carbon of the amino acids which creates life is connected to the carbon which makes the plastic in the region of the production. We see the same life. If we looked, Amazons are much greener than before because there is a slight difference in the process, but there is no plastic. In the same understanding, now we solve many problems in one teaching of the man. What he has created as a menace for itself, and what actually the same process leads to creation of itself. Because these amino acids which created the oil and the gas themselves came from the same thing as made the plastic. Birds with birds, camels with camels, lions with lions. So now you understand half of the man's problem, which you call plastic, and now we see it in the ocean, how it has come to be created. But this brings another dimension to understanding, as the life is the same in every dimensions of the creation. Where does all this sand continuously comes that can feed every year billions of tons of it across? Why doesn't it finish? Because it goes back to understanding of the stomach of a man, absorbing the energy and the conversion to physicality of the man, the center of the planet, in conjunction with all the dimensions and position of the field flow, creates a condition that itself absorbs energies that in conversion they become the sand of the desert. So if you look and you understand the totality, life is a cycle. Come from and go back to. In a way, if the magnetic gravitational field of the Sahara sand wasn't there, you will not get any. So that billions of tons, which comes from the sky as an energy packing conversion into elements of what we call matter, then in feeding, it completes the cycle and leads to everything else we see. Creation is a closed circuit cycle of life in a cabinet. What you put in it, you get in it, but at the same time it interacts with everything else to give you different flavors. You put a jam in it, you cannot take pickles out of it. But you can put a jam and a pickle, and you might have a taste of two if you like the taste to mix it, and it depends what effect and emotion will give you. What in effect the emotion will give you in the dimension of the matter state of the being. This is the beauty of the knowledge of the creation, if the man's understand is totality. But if you understand further, you can lead to the creation of life, dynamic life, creation of the space motion, creation of the dimension of the field flow. Everything else comes through the same. Then it comes to understanding how you separate the soul of the man from the dimension of physicality, and how do you feed the soul of the man. And then it comes to one fact again, that very simple, and it might shock some of you, and it might bring a lot of knowledge to a lot of you. As we said, in the stomach of the man, we created the condition of the weaker, that through the physicality of the man, it absorbs energy from the universe. And in the process, what is needed in between absorbs. Now, the biggest dilemma for the man and his creation is how weak is the soul of the man, then his weakness interacts and attracts energies from the universe, that it can feed such a beautiful center of energy. And how in feeding to a weaker condition, in position of interaction, leads to the creation of physicality. Man looks to create and feed the soul with the more powerful energies, where in fact the soul of the man operates on the weakest condition. That's why it can absorb from the universe what it needs in totality, that in interaction, as it was the desert, we saw creating sand, leads to creation of the kidney and liver in different condition of the back, the body of the man in the space of the universe. Now I have explained the mystery of creation to man for the first time. It needs a wise man to understand. Then you can feed the soul of the man in any dimension. And then, if you understood, you can create the dimension of the flow of the soul from the body of the man as you wish. Then you don't need a spaceship to move the soul. You need the understanding of the totality of the fields of the universe to position the soul. There is a difference between the heat from the fire and the central heating. And the man has not understood the knowledge yet. And that's why most of you are in problem. In Arabic, we have a very good say. If you understand it, it's the completion. They say, Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. You understand the beauty, the gift of God. From the beginning to the end. Be it the soul of the man, be it the physicality of the man, be it the creation of the planet, be it the creation of the universe, be it the creation of the creator itself. If man understands how to feed his soul, man can dictate the dimension of environment, and it can dictate the manifestation of the physicality of the soul according to the wish of the soul of the man, not to the dimension of physicality of the as physicality is a chameleon and it takes any dimension where the soul is sacrosanct and unique. The same soul in its strength can become the physicality of bloody man. The same soul in the dimension of physicality of the structure of the brain of the man becomes a monkey, and the same soul in the dimension of interaction of the size of the brain of the bird becomes a pigeon. That's all it is. What blanket you put on it, how you dress it. The brain of the man is the cloth of the physicality of the man and nothing else. It's you who decides how to energize the soul and how to allow the soul to cover itself in how it manifests itself in the dimension of its manifestation. Would you like a pink skin or would you like a red skin? I was looking at something very interesting, the way the whites in America has started beating the blacks and the blacks are beating the whites. And if you understand what I taught today and what is going through my head in past few weeks, what I see, racism through the color, I wonder, with the knowledge I have, I change half of the people who are beating the blacks to change the color of them into black while they are beating. Who's gonna beat them? This is within my knowledge and my capability. Then we understand, is it the skin of the man which is black or the soul of the one who thinks is white? Now you understand, race, color has no function in a dimension of the universe, and the sooner man understands, the sooner man will be allowed into universal community. It's very easy because there is a technology where we can change the DNA and the RNA instantaneously. And it's very easy. If you are two brothers beating a black guy up, and I change your brother to black, would you beat your black brother up? It's just to change strength in the salt and salinity according to its environment. This is how, if never understood, now you understand. When a white woman marries a black man, creates a black child or a white child, or if there is a balance of the love of the soul, a mixture. When you see a white man with a black woman and the child is white, you have to understand the love that the woman has for her husband, not the strength of this white man's strength. I love you that I create the same for you. Man has not understood this. And the sooner we understand, we can allow man at least to enter in the universal community on that level of understanding of his own. There is no room for prejudice and racism in the space of the universe, or we can change the blanket. You don't like the blacks, and make your soul to create you black. This is how easy now the knowledge is. And this is in a way a warning, a red flag for those who start after all these problems in the past few months and years. As I said, the present administration of America is on a big threat that will not come into operation if the American society understands a key point. And this key point at the present elections, we have a white man on the name of Trump, and with all the things we have seen. We have two women, one black, not one black, one half caste, half Indian, half black, and a white woman, more or less, as a vice president. Trump stands no chance. And we advise the American government, American electors to go that way. We need the time of peace. They carry the vote of the women, they carry the vote of all colors. Trump is trumped. We see that to come. This is our wish. For the first time, a president and a vice president of the same woman, mixed races, covering all three races of the United States, will do everything done by Trump. They carry everything. And from then on, we might see equality and peace. We got to tolerate this for another 18 months. Don't forget, the change in the present Western structure came when there were two women in charge, that they work in synchronized in understanding of each other. The Queen of England and Mrs. Thatcher, they brought the biggest industrial revolution in the economical cycle of the world. If there is nothing hidden in these two ladies, you have the first woman president and the vice president together. And if they choose that card, we see the beginning of the world peace and end of this mayhem. And we can change it. Now, the way I can feed you, the way I can take your pain away, the way you use the gases to reduce your cancer, I have taught you how to change the color of your skin or the color of your hair. And you can do it every day because the physicality does not change, it's just the skin changes. Your blood is still red, your heart is the same color, your lung will be the same color, and everything else which you have will be the same color. When we operate on the black man, has the same color heart as the one with the white man. It's just the skin deep, and now we know with the knowledge how to change the color of the skin. And if need be, if you understand deep enough, you can live without the skin. I carry the knowledge of the universe. I get pushed, I push. As Arman said, I have just understood after 5.5 years what you're talking about. I said, I taught you well. It depends on the understanding according to the intelligence. And when he said he understood this, I taught him more. He says, understand that. Now, I said, when one understands, I teach the rest. Which means when one soul is done, the rest of the souls are mature to move. Then it comes to, we need to slave the man and get a father and child across the river to die. Getting rid of the drug trafficking for us is so easy. Because the one who carries the drug carries a fingerprint, and if you understood the teaching of today, when it cannot carry, it can never reach the market. I don't need to be a genius to know how all these little problems of the world can stop. If we enlighten the soul of the Muslims, calling Sunni in reality and the facts of Shias and vice versa, would we have all these battles? As President Trump said, there are 18 points of trouble and all of them Iran is involved, because you get Iran involved because they should be looking bad that they can sell 11 million barrels of oil, which you never had up to now. But with one fingerprint and one dimension, every man can have as much fuel as they like in their tanks. Nobody will sell, not a single drop of oil. And then they blow the refineries up and they say they've done it because refineries cannot process the wrong oil, the wrong school of thoughts. Let me explain as I explained in other teaching. And this is the warning to a lot of you and a lot of the government officials who are listening on the sideline. Last year in Inner Mongolia, we grew grains. When we arrived with the officials, the wheat was already sown for 100 days. We gave the water from the process of the Keshe Foundation. For only between 27 to 30 days. So it's 100 plus 1. This is a man existing. We interfered. The total protein in this body of the grain in China is between 11 and 13% gram. The best Americans have ever done in the controlled environment is 20 gram. All we did, we created the condition of the beauty of the water with the gans. What we created shocked the nation of China, those who understood. We produce ganses, we produce grains at 20 gram. Now you know why Chinese government embraces the foundation. What Americans did under control, Chinese do in the natural field, understanding a new technology. But the difference is, this is nothing if you understand the rest of it. How we increase, let's say, by 8 gram, which is on the top of 11, in excess of 75%, the nutrition and the protein within the grain. By just changing the environment of the plant. So we can feed the same way the man if you understand the concept and understanding. With the same process where the rice were infested, with our process there is no infestation. So the parasites like the world leaders and those who create crime will be the same parasites that we can handle. Is the message clear? Do you understand how I can feed you? How I have put more protein inside in 27 days than the top scientists could not do in their lifetime of research? How we can transfer energy into the body of the man by changing of the environment? Then you understand how easy it is, as we got rid of the parasites, to get rid of those who think like parasites, as we control the emotion of the man and the soul of the man.
Do I need the water? Or shall I mix it in the water of the tap you shower and wash yourself, and you carry it with you as you go? It changes your total physicality. Don't give me contaminated water to sort out, because I sort the man through the contaminated water when he cleans up. Now you understand how much patience I've had. The knowledge with wheat is already confirmed a year ago. Forget about I know it for thousands of years. And at the same time, the way we have taken the energy of the protein from the environment to embed it in the seed, we can take it from the seed to be outside. So one day, very soon, if the push comes to the shove, some of those oil exporters find out they have no oil. There are plenty of empty tanks. But it comes to, we return back to. And it takes me less than $1,000 to dry everything. I just received a note from Azar explaining there's a teaching tonight to the Iranian community, and as usual it's 12 o'clock. They keep me awake till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and this process will be part of the farming. And next Thursday is with the Iranian scientists in space development with the University of Sharif Tehran University, the most excellent university in the Middle East, where we develop the next step in the space technology in conjunction with the Chinese scientists. The Chinese scientists will be invited to the next meeting. And this is part of the process. I hope you're happy, Azar. She works very hard to allow the Iranian scientists to be part of the structure of the Keshe Foundations, and they are developing very fast. The Iranian scientists have come up with a new Zoom technology we are looking at, that we don't need translators instantaneously. Everything gets translated into a number of languages. And I hope it's been tested, and if you see the results right, we might use it as part of our teaching set instantaneously. Anybody can listen in their original language, thanks to the Iranian scientists and the developers of technology is under observation with the Keshe Foundation. And hopefully we can feed them for them, if it works correctly, international as a new app that it brings the beauty of it to its inventors, and we are just the tools to bring that to it. In any case, now you understand. And if you go back into the, again, understanding of the totality of the work of the body of the man, you will see a beautiful understanding that a lot of things is not what you look at. I don't know, where is this Armin? I promised him I'd teach while he is there, but he can listen afterwards, not a problem. In part of the discussion, going back in the same phase of understanding, there is a very interesting point of how we absorb energy, how what we see has been a misunderstanding. In the process of the world of science and your understanding of how you absorb and create that gravitational magnetic field in the fields of two the same or two opposite can create gravitational or magnetical. In the teachings of understanding, those of you who are in the flight system, understanding of the process of the flight,
you should have seen something very strange. And that strangeness comes from what I call the Caroline core. In the present world of science, they tell us the inner core of the earth is metal, and that's why we have the magnetic gravitational field, what we call the magnets, that we are the metal strength of. In fact, there is nothing far away from the fallacy of this concept than anything else. First of all, I ask those who said that the center of the earth has a metal core, have they been there? Or this is just one thing they thought, because it's a magnet metal, the earth should be magnet metal to metal core. My answer to those of you that there is no metal in the center of the core of the planet, now that we understand more, is very simple. Those of you who I explained to you that the center of the earth is not a hollow, but it's made of gases, what we call the Caroline core, is center of the energy. If you look at your dynamic cores, where you have put the gases, you notice the gases stick to the wall, and out of nowhere you see the hollow center. Now, if you see, and you have seen it, this hollow center, comes the question: if there is a barrier between the water and the hole or this empty space, and then there is a barrier between the water and the matter state of the gas, how did this wall was created? Is this made of iron core? Now you understand the fallacy in the knowledge which has been transferred. There is no containment in the world of creation, especially at high energy levels. It's a control by the field, gravitational magnetic field of the elements. And then, if you understand this, you understand you can change the dimension of the strength of any element, and you can move in a very simple way according to the field strength, the size of this core. And if you understand this, it changes to you, to your understanding, you can change the size of the soul of the man, without dimension of containment of the physicality of the brain. Then we understand, as we spoke about the desert and the Sahara, where it absorbs in this level all the sand and what it needs to become the sand of the desert. Then we understand earth is not for the metal, is magnetic for all the elements which is central core creates that leads to absorption. So we always had all the magnets within the structure of the physicality of the body of this planet. The same is with the solar system, the same is with the universe. Then it brings you back to the total understanding of what you have put in. This is my message to Arizona guys. What you have put in layers that decided the size of your core in this space, in this dimension. And if you have created this boundary, is from the balance of the two. And what you need to mix to decide the size of this core, or what speed of rotation in conjunction with these two you have, that it leads to the creation of magnetic field, rotation, motion, and positioning of the planet and travel of the space in the dimension of the creation. I taught you from biology, from physics, from the cosmology, from dimension of creation of matter, from motion in the universe. Show me another man who can do. I am the true messenger. And those who follow will succeed. Now you understand the depth of the knowledge which you've been taught, and it's time for man to understand the knowledge in its totality, that no man in the space will be abused, and man knowing will not let him to be abused, because it comes out of the strength of his knowledge, but not out of his weakness of his slavery. Understand the knowledge. Do not follow the technology. Technology is another dimension of physicality to the knowledge of the universe. Today, I have taught you a lot, because now it's time for man to mature. It's time for man to see more, because now you understand, you have learned most of the knowledge. Now you comprehend the totality of the knowledge. Now you can see the depth, the strength of what you have learned, and now you can become all the creator of your own destiny in the universe. Not to be conditioned to manifest yourself depending what happens in the environment you are in. You decide how to look through the strength of your soul. If you understand that your soul carries the memory of its own existence, it carries its own emotion, it carries its own dimension. It's the soul of the man who has to understand the knowledge, not the physicality of the man. And up to now, man has been physical, because that's how you've been following. Now you have to move up to understand the strength of your soul, the emotion of the soul. And then through it, see the reaction of the physicality. Then you understand man becomes free from the shackles of the physical life in any dimension in your world of creation. There's a beautiful word in Arabic, and it says Allahu Akbar, means God is great. And that greatness is written, I made man in the image of myself. It's man who sells himself to the sale of physicality, or to the pleasures of life in the dimension of existence. Now you understand how much in totality we have misunderstood about our own creation, our own physical dimension. You have to understand, if you go back to the beginning of the teaching of today, why does a soul who is so weak that it receives everything creates a weaker position in confirmation of existence of itself, that it can absorb from what it absorbs in a lower strength, that it creates a dimension of interaction of the physicality. This is the key to the true knowledge of creation. I am weak, but I create a weaker, that through them I confirm I exist to be bigger. and stronger, even though I sit in no dimension. And if this is a habit of the physicality of the man, isn't this the habit of the creation itself? A made man, that by the confirmation of their existence, they may love me, that I can confirm I exist. I think I have taught a lot today. Maybe to a total of all the 283 teachings sums up to one. But depends what is to the ear of the beholder. If it lights up your soul, or you're just in the blizzard trying to escape from it. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. I'll remind the attendees they can put their hand up and we can allow you to speak. There was a question earlier from Joel in the Q&A who said, when you were talking about Kansas and whatnot, he says, I agree with you, but what about water? We need to drink water. I think you were talking about...
I answer in a very single way, single question. We don't have any water on Moon, we have life. We don't have any water on Mars, we have life. We don't need water. What's the function of the water? Ask yourself that question. Is the field interaction of the separation that the fields can flow within. If you can create that balance fields through that every common denominator elements can keep their distance, you call it a water. Be it hydrogen and oxygen, be it nitrogen and chlor, depends where you are in the universe. Understand
Mr.
what is
Keshe?
the function of the water. Yes. That sounds
This is
something from
Lisa.
Australia.
Yes,
Yes.
that's me. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. I just thought if you could then explain, please, with the role of the water
First of
and
all,
the
would you like to introduce who you are? You just don't come in with no shoes on. Dress yourself.
sorry. I'm Lisa from Australia. And I'd like to ask.
And she is the Earth Council member for
Yes,
Australia.
for Australia. Yes.
Yes.
With that you're talking about, that the water creates the separation and the salt is what creates the physicality. If you could please explain it in literally like baby terms so that we can put it out in a very easy form for people, what happens in the box in terms of your Na and your Cl and your H2O and your field created in the center. I think
As you be,
explain it
yeah,
like
I
that.
understand. I understand. As you're the highly respected Earth member of the council, and you're a farmer, and I know what you're going to do with this, but I'll explain to you. I explain this in a very simple system. Go back in all my teachings. I always said, in a matter state, iron behaves as a manifestation of magnet. And I always said oxygen in a liquid and a space of magnetic field of the planet in the gaseous state, which itself interacts with, behaves as a magnet in gaseous state. So in a gaseous state we cannot use iron, but oxygen. So when it has that magnetic field is gravitationally orientated, so it absorbs everything. That's why anything like CO2, ZNO, whatever, H2O, it means it's a gravitational, it absorbs energy to, it holds on to because it needs it. So if you understood this, so hydrogen, oxygen is a magnet. But we know the hydrogen is gravitational, is what it gives energy. So you need one oxygen to absorb, you need two hydrogen for what it doesn't need to give. That's why oxygen is separator. Depends in how much one gives and the other two absorb. Sorry, one absorbs, two absorbs and one gives, that in that process, depending what it is, creates separation, what we call liquid or water. As simple as that. So this is why when we use water in the gases, we create a dimension of separation, and that's why gas waters all transfer the energy to the water, because its gravitational field and its magnetical field depends which magnetical field the strength is going to be interacting. This one is for, let's say, sodium, this one is for copper, this one is for zinc, and they're on. But in reverse order, because the center you go, the stronger you get. This is the magnetical behavior of it. But if you go on the gravitational side of it, it is the zinc, the copper, and everything else. That's why water behaves as a separator. Because as you've seen, as I said, you put water with a gas of CO2, it carries the behavior of the CO2. You put a gas of water with the copper, it carries the behavior of the copper. As simple as that. So in the planet Zeus, there is no water, but there is another system which has that behavior. So that becomes the water of that water. This is why there is a problem with our present scientists that are looking for water to confirm existence, that life can exist. The water can exist, the life can exist within the center of a stone. It's in the writing of Baha'u'llah Rasulullah's name. He says, even the stone has a soul. If you have a soul, which is a collective construction of the energy fields of those elements, it has to have life, it has a dimension. When it loses that dimension, the stone changes. And now if we see what is in the publication today, and we see the magnetic gravitational field, now they confirm, they can see the magnetic field of, if there's a magnetic field, it has to give and it has to take. And if this is an atom of iron, and you have a stone made of iron, then it has a soul because it gives and takes. But in the body of the man, it's dynamic. We call it the soul. The soul is the center of the stone, has a soul. Because it's made of so many atoms that they interact, it needs a central to keep its shape. In one of the teachings with the Persian language a couple of weeks ago, one of the knowledge seekers says, Mr. Keshe, you know it's in Quran. Muhammad, bless his name, he said, I blow life into man, into the soul of the man. So we already know the soul has been blown, has been given by the Creator into the soul of the man, into the physicality of the man. then we understand that the soul is within the man. We have to understand, for elements to confirm their existence and their motion, you need the separation. If there is no oil between me and the sand, I cannot slide on the stone. I stick like a brick. And if you go back into the present knowledge, that what we understand, that the ganses have the dimension of existence in the totality, then you understand this gans can survive as 42 degrees, this gans can survive as minus 700 degrees, and this gans can survive as plus 7,000 degrees. So the ganses are not temperature dependent. They're gravitational magnetic field environment dependent. That is why we see life in the most hottest areas in depth of the ocean, and we see life in the upper atmosphere at minus high temperatures, minus 50, 100, 200 degrees, whatever you call it. Because life is not dependent on environmental temperature, but life is dependent on environmental magnetic field temperature.
Thanks, Mr. Keshe.
Now am I clear? Any
Yes.
other question?
Can I ask another one quickly? Well, it's not
Yes.
really, it's just more of an, just to check my understanding. So it just sent something off in my brain when you were explaining about how the salts combine to create the metals or the minerals. So for example, my daughter was a colicky baby, and there are lots of colicky babies out there, and I know many people have sleepless nights with colicky babies. And through her life, she also got what they call growing pains. And the one thing that I could always give her was the mag-phos tissue salt, and it used to help that problem. And when I look at mag-phos now on the chart, when you're just explaining, it adds up to iron. So was she actually lacking in iron, and did the mag-phos allow her to absorb iron from the environment?
Yeah, but you have to understand what is mag-phos. It's magnesium sulfide. Am I correct?
Phosphate, isn't it?
Phosphate.
It's got a phos.
So,
Yeah.
okay. So what you have, you got to see what that gives in energy balance. Does not mean she's short of iron, but it means there's no linkage between the energy transfer of the totality of the salt with the matter state and the energy level. You add it in. This is why some of the children cannot drink cow milk, but they can eat drink a goat milk. This, if you what you explain, you understand. If you go a step further, this is how allergies come in. We
Now
have
you've
to.
lost me.
Oh, listen to it a few times, you understand.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. If you let's go to the master. John is asking if you can speak. John, give me a few minutes. I'll come to you. Can we have the periodic table, please? Are you there, Rick?
Yes, just getting it set up here.
So take your pick. Lisa?
Right, if we look at mag-phos, for example.
Okay, I have your magnesium here.
Yeah.
Wait, I have to use my magic pen. Okay, I've got your magnesium here. Yeah?
Yeah.
Where is your phosphor? You got your phosphor here. Yeah? Am I correct?
Not seeing the writing there. There we go. Okay.
Okay. Am I
Got
correct?
it? Yeah.
Am I correct? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. You have about 31 plus 24. 555. In totality, in isotopes of iron physical strength, one of them is missing. You understand?
Yeah.
Now you see how you dropped it right on it on 56, 55. You understand? So
Yeah.
what you've done, you have replaced that, but you connect it to the energy. Yeah?
Okay.
Because if you take magnesium or phosphor around about 31, let's say, and you have a 24, what do you get? I don't know why it disappears. Would you come back? Around 6, which is a carbon connection.
Okay. So it goes both ways.
Yes, of course it
Adding
does.
together and minusing. Okay.
Of course, that's why it plays double, because all the elements, all the plasmas are not heading in one direction. Huh? Some of them add together, some of them repel. And sometimes some of those who repel, they're close to each other, and sometimes the ones who are near each other are close to each other. You understand?
Yes.
When you look at the construction of the soul of the man, then you have to add up the totality, because it has to be in connection with the total, but the weaker at the point. The soul of the man does not sit with 100 and blah 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 blah. The soul of the man to receive is minus H. Weak enough to receive, humble enough to accept. You have to excuse me for 1 second, please. I have to do something. 1 second. Rick, do you want to go somewhere? 1 second, I'll be back.
All right, thank you. All right, does anybody would like to carry on the conversation while we wait for Mr. Keshe to come back here, perhaps? Any observations or questions?
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. There you are.
Back.
I think. Are you still there? That was quick. We don't hear you, Mr. Keshe.
Can you hear me here?
Yeah, it's a bit weak, but we're hearing you. Sounds like it's not the microphone, correct microphone.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, that's better.
Yes, okay, we are right back. It's just now we have a possibility of 3-4 different servers. We can jump from one to another. That's why we don't lose so much. Can you repeat that, please?
You weren't gone long enough, Mr. Kesh. We hadn't discussed anything.
Okay, so no problem. So what happens at the same time, you have to understand, as I said, where the periodic table should have been written in a way starting in this category of whatever next to each other in packages. The way the periodic table, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the way the periodic tables are written is a cause of the problem. It has to be restructured that we understand the connection, or we have to write the periodic tables in the energy interaction of the fields. That's one of the things that you will understand very easy. It's very, very easy if you understand in a so bigger way how things interact. If you, for example, put the neurosystem here with the structure of the physicality, yeah, you get what? You get 128 with isotopes, yeah. And if you work in conjunction with both of them, and you understand how this behaves with cesium in a space, man needs to understand this cesium, because in the body of the man, the same division with the iron is done with the cobalt. The understanding is not a radiation anymore. Is transfer of energy, is it magnetical or is it gravitational, and which side you take? The soul of the man works somewhere trapped with combination of the CO2 and ZnO2. It can contain it. So the containment field force of the body of the man is very simple. If you put a CO2, I have to write it somewhere. If you put CO2, it's carbon plus 2 oxygen, is 44. Then you put a Zn, we call it 65. You have another CO2, you got ZnO, you have a 16. I lost them again, where are they? Come back. I lost my figures. Oh, they'll come back somewhere. So you have a 44. Why do I lose my writing? I don't see it. Maybe you see it in the background. You have a 44 of a CO2. You have a Zn of 65. Then you have a ZnO, or maybe ZnO2, because sometimes is a 2. We call it a 16. That's 48 and 44. 93 plus 65. 158. And then you start looking for 158. What interaction does this create? In which part of the body of the man this thing exists? And how does it behave in that? What elements behave around 158? And if you go and find an organ, you find this is where the organ operates. And it has that material in it. Because it's not always taking out, it's adding to as well. This is what I was explaining this to Armin. Can I have my board back, please?
Do you want the same picture or a whiteboard?
No, I've taken a whiteboard.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we put it this way. We put it this way. You see, this is what a lot of you did not understand because you're so busy with CO2. When I make the zinc oxide galvanized, and I put the copper nano coated here, and I put my iron in the middle of it. All you were interested, all of you, was, oh, I create CH3. But you didn't ask, we explained many times. How did you make it? You have the difference between these two creates a magnetic field of carbon. A lot of people say, how can it be 60, 62, and 65? It gives you that one. Go to college and study a little bit more, you understand. Then there is another problem because this guy is 65 or 60, I call it. I know atomically we call it 62, but we always call it 60 because it works the right way. And you have here 65, 63. Okay, but you have here a 57. And part of the 60. Don't forget, we never work on atomic molecular or atomic mass or atomic weight. We work on the field balance. And all the metals have isotopes. So we take the average from the bottom to the top. And sometimes it fits because of the neutron energy extra, what gives you that push towards the top or the bottom end. So now here you have a 50 and 60, you have your H3. Here you have your carbon. That's why you create a composite this way, because you have a composite here. But when you've done that and you create the carbon and a hydrogen, you get a totally different structure protein on the top of this plate. If you look. Now, this protein has a beautiful characteristics, which if I put iron with it, now I have, you see, this behaves as a nanomaterial, this behaves as an iron. Now the iron here becomes a GaNs ion. Interaction with the protein, which is sliding down, gives you blood or hemoglobin. And if you change your salt to something else, you always used NaCl. What about if you use magnesium? It will rain if you understand green. You create the green blood. But you have to create the right condition. This is why some of you write to me says, how come my CH3 creates a green like is copper oxide? You're not creating copper oxide, you're creating the blood of the green of the vertical people. It's a slightly different green. What do you call the green blood of the plants? Oh, the greenness of the plants. But they still have that white mixture in it.
The chlorophyll.
Yes, now you understand. As I said, If you become copycats, you never understand, you just copy. If you understand the knowledge, you enlighten. And if you can mix the two together, I can feed you vegetables or meat. Which one do you want? And one of the reasons why certain animals eat only vegetables, they don't eat meat, is this understanding of the principle of this. You try to feed a cow hamburger, because the gravitational magnetic field inside it is connected to this, not to this. But human is unfortunately moving between the two. So he can eat meat and he can eat vegetables.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I think he dropped, so just be a minute for him to come back. See, Mario, you have your hand up there. I'll allow you to speak. And hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're kind of weak, like it's a different microphone.
Hello?
Yes, now we hear you clear. Now? Yes.
Yeah.
Whoops. What happened? You still there?
Okay. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, it was just cutting in and out a bit there.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just our systems kick in and kick out, so we have to follow it till they balance themselves out. There's a lot of problem with the VPN and other communication systems at the moment. I think nobody likes Huawei, huh? So they're trying to block the highway. Let's see how we go.
No,
Yes.
Facebook had trouble today as well internationally, so maybe there's a big internet interruption happening.
Okay, so what's the question?
We have Mario with his hand up here.
Yes, hello, Mr. Keshe. It's Mario from Bangkok, Thailand.
Yes.
Several years ago, I'm pretty sure that I worked out a periodic table and the way to align the elements in the correct way. And I don't know if this is the right time or the venue to show it, but I think it's correct. And if it is, then it might help a lot of people, everybody, all of us, to realign those elements. It shows a very different thing if I'm correct. But if you would like me to show it, or if not, maybe some other time, it's okay.
A lot of people, can you hear me? Am I heard? Hello?
Yes, yes, go ahead.
A lot of people come up with different type of periodic table. Periodic table is not what we know. There are tens of different ones of it. And it depends in what direction you apply it and for what you apply it for. I've seen some funny ones. I've seen some people doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but it makes sense to a lot of us. And it applies, depends what you accept it for and what region. And for what application. I never draw a periodic table, but I work on the energy balance. I understand the energy balance of each atom. You got to understand, for example, when you work with iron, for example, um, what is this iron connected to? Why sometimes it works at the lower isotopes of it and sometimes at the higher isotopes of it in respect to its gravitational magnetic field. Depends what it sits outside it and what is interacting with. This, they say we measure the half cycle of this is this much and the half cycle of this that. I can change the half cycle depending on what I introduce to the neighborhood. So my periodic table is dictated by what I introduce in the environment. And is understanding in changing the magnetic field environment on the gravitational magnetical, I can create an ion which still behaves like iron, but it's around about 45. And the same ion I can create will be about 65 to 75. But still has a common denominator of the ion. Energy-based balance of ion. Because if you look at it, this is effective from gravitational magnetic field. On this side of it is gravitational magnetical more, on this side of it is magnetical more. But depends which side. You see, that's how isotopes in the energy level in the gravitational magnetic field is decided. Till one is more that it pulls it this way, now it behaves like zinc. And then you can draw any. You have to understand the totality of the fields roughly.
Well, if I understand you correctly, if you take iron at 56, you can change it to 45 and it still behaves like iron?
Of course. Of course, it depends. Are you going on its gravitational field strength or its magnetical field strength?
How it's interacting with the other elements.
Yes, with its environment, yeah. It's the behavior in respect to the environment. It's not behavior in respect to the what do you call it, to the central energy level.
Right. Well, I understood, the way I understood it is I could take iron, and if I change the number, it'll behave like zinc or whatever, more or less within the same environment, within the same elements around it.
Yeah.
If they're the same, I change the number, then the behavior changes, correct? But if I change the number...
In a way, yes.
Pardon me?
Yes, in a way.
So, but if it's in the same environment and I change the number, the behavior will always change in that environment.
You see, the universe doesn't have numbers, it has a field balance. This is how actually your thalamus and in so many ways your thymus works. This is how your limbs work.
Squeezing the size of the diameter in the...
doesn't matter. It's just... No, it depends if you're pulling more on its gravitational strength or pulling out more on the magnetical strength.
Okay.
If it's a gravitational strength, you go towards the center because you get gravitated more. So you are in a way pushed to the edge outside because the magnetical is bigger, the gravitational is smaller. You understand?
Right. Okay, I see. Yeah,
it's the energy pack. It depends how you put in it and what you take on it. If you look at it, I was teaching last week, it's you and depends what fields you're sitting in. You understand?
Yes.
Huh? So in so many ways you sit in a mixture. This is going higher, so you get cooler, or you getting becomes lower, you get hotter. It's the same fields, but it's you who decides what fields you absorb and how you want to behave. You want to have a fan on, or you want to have a heater on. And if you understand this in so many ways, it's the cause of the problem with women in their menopause cycle. Nobody has understood it. If you understood the definition of the same cells in receiving or giving energy in the cycle of the menopause, that's why suddenly women go in the hot flush. It's the same element. It's the receives of the motion from the emotional part of the soul of the man that he says, I don't want to produce anymore. And I cannot accept it because I want still to be active. I still want to be a woman. I can still generate. So is what I call stress release. You get your hot flush, but you're not aware of it. Your body is taking it. You understand? We don't have that kind of menopause feeling with the men because we are always there. We can produce anytime we like. If you understand this, you understand why they get hot flush. I cannot explain to them, this is you fighting with yourself. I still want to be, but the body says there's nobody to look after children. You know, the soul decides that if you have any children, I cannot support. I'm going to be too much pressure. I don't want, but you still want physically. Yeah, I want to do. So there is a clash of energy transfer. You're sitting in a hot seat, you become hot flush, and then the hormones, the emotion doesn't go. Hormones are the emotional part of the body. Then you understand. I want to be as agile and versatile as the man. How can he still go out with a younger girl and I cannot do, and he can have children, I cannot. So I stop everything, but the body says no. And what you want to do, as John Collins says, after the age of 40, everything goes south pole, doesn't it? You understand? So it is understanding of the field flow. The field flow of the emotion to the same cell pushes it to be the stronger side. The dimension of the truth in the history of the cycle of the man says, after this age, 20 years, you're 60, 65, you cannot look after a child. I prefer to stop now, not to carry the pressures of it. We call it a menopause, but it's the interaction between the field of the emotion and the reality of the physicality. That's it. Then you can understand how I change women of 70, 75 to have their old cycles back and they're happy as ever. Because I tell them, now you can have whatever you like. You can carry on for 120 years. Because you're going to live behind 100. Now you understand? We create the dimension of the same element, but in a different energy strength.
Okay, so it's relative differentials, basically, more or less. Is that a simple way?
Yeah, but what is your differential? Your environment, strength, field, and the need of. If you explain it that way.
Okay, I see.
You understand?
Yeah, actually I do, strangely enough. I usually never understand what you're saying.
Yes. What are you doing here so long then if you don't understand?
I can't believe I actually do understand what you just said there. Most of it, I'm sure that I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, listen to it. You listen to it. He says, why did I think I understood? I don't understand now. That's a good thing.
Well, I've been through that a bunch of times already too, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other question? Or shall we call it a day? We're nearly 3 hours.
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Oh, yes, John. Yes, you're there.
Can I ask a couple questions?
I still can't download your YouTube. I can download anyone's, but every time you send, it takes me ages to go there.
I think it's something on your end.
Of course it is.
Maybe it's those little tiny gremlins in your computer.
While you're there, I looked at your course. You were trying to show me there's something wrong in there. Or it's good the way if you understood it.
Okay.
Okay, no problem. Carry on, please.
So 2 questions.
You're a very lucky guy, Mr. John Bevan, huh? Now you're going to be very, very, very goodly positioned in Arizona. And thank you very much. Thank you very much for all your support.
That way we'll be able to serve more, which was always our
Thank you very much. Those of you who do not know, John has been a solid backer of the Keshe Foundation. He stood with us all the time with everything else. And I thank you very much for all your support, John. Good time, bad time, you've been there.
So I got two questions. The first one has to do with going back to the salts.
Yeah.
Our normal table salt is sodium chloride, but it typically has iodine in it.
Yes.
They put iodine in all of the table salts, and it, for some reason, for a lot of people, consuming too much salt makes them creates havoc in the body. Or seems to.
Okay, can we go back to our master? Can we have the periodic table back on, please? Rick?
There you go.
Okay. Okay. So, tell me where you want me to go.
Sodium plus chlorine plus chloride plus iodine.
Sodium, wait. Give me the numbers. You want sodium?
Number 11 plus 7.
Number, wait. Just wait. You have a sodium, you have a chloride, yeah?
Yes.
And then where do you want me to go with?
Iodine. So that would be
Yeah. So what else you want to go?
So that would be what is in the typical table salt that is on everybody's table.
Yes, but you're forgetting something else here.
What? Okay.
The water. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's if you make it in a CO2 box.
You make it in a CO2 box, so you have yes.
Yeah.
Then.
So I guess the question is would you add up all those elements and that's the strength that table salt carries into your box?
More or less, yes. You just don't see that separation. You have to see.
Okay, then if I had sodium GANs.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry, we missed the last part of your statement there, Mr. Keshe. Something
I didn't
about
say
separation. You said something about the separation.
Yeah, I said you have to look at both sides.
Are you there?
Now that we can hear me, okay. No. You can hear me now?
Yeah, it's good now.
Yeah, okay. You have to understand that now we understand more. We cannot just work on the division, separation, and deduction. We have to work on addition of the totality, as well as.
Okay.
And then, what is the position? What is the understanding? What is the balance? What is the salt and energy content outside the box? This is one of the problems in mass production in the factories. We put systems next to each other. We put system up and top and bottom of each other. But you find out
in boxes above or below, we produce different materials. Because of the field flow here, which is nothing here, produces different gases of than the ones in the center. Because the environmental influence on it affects it. The gas I produce here as a CO2 is different than this one here. So in mass production, we look at the total environmental effect. Because if you have a copper here and you have a copper here, you find out here you're producing green material, and here you have a zinc and you have a zinc here, you produce white material here. But in between you're producing CO2. When we set up the factories, we look at all this, the environmental effect. How, what we're going to produce where. Do we need to put nano-plated materials between the layers, but we still have the fields on the top affecting each other? If you do that, get your zinc box and your copper box, and your CO2 box, and put them in different positions in respect to each other and see what you produce inside. So it means the environment has an effect on the production.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Yep. So it's the same here. You have to understand what when you put in the body, what you carry. So, you were saying?
If we had the GANs of sodium, would that be considered a salt magnet, or were you talking about salts as in the matter state only? Because
no, it's a magnet in its gas state, not in the matter state.
Okay,
you can make a magnet of anything.
Okay,
once you move it to its gas state.
So that's a big clarification, because
that was clarified a long time ago. I thought anyway.
Well, when we were talking salts, myself, I was thinking the salt that you use to create the nanomaterial. But really what we're talking about is the plasmatic element of, for example, sodium, or the plasmatic element of magnesium.
Yes, but you can mix the two as well. You can change different salinity.
Understand?
Yeah. So if you make 10% of Na and 5% of K, and then you make 5% of Na and 20% of the K, you get totally different proposition.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And then there you have a muscle, you can interact with the muscle of the heart, with the other one doesn't work, and the other one becomes a muscle of the kidney, or tissue of the kidney. You understand? This is how body creates its organs. In a time to come, when we analyze all the elements of the body of the man, we don't need to do operations and open up the body of the man. In 10 years, 15 years, we laugh, why do we do all these operations for? Because now we repair at a point, we see the magnetic field. Now, especially now with what has come out in past 72 hours, what's coming out from this research with measuring the magnetic field of, and we can say which field is what, then we can say this element in this point in the kidney is not working what it's supposed to be. So we create the field of it, we change the cell, voila, we go. Man will live for thousands of years in physicality if he understands this. We taught this to man once before, but the greed of the man put in the hand of the what we call controllers of the soul of the man. We call it the religious people. The knowledge is so simple. Now we have the systems to measure. And now we can go. You see, when you blow the wind of the knowledge across the soul of the man
itself, will gradually come to serve itself. Now we come with knowledge is there. Now you see in this position, now we can measure the field of the atom, the field of GANs, and then we see how the body of the man in the GANs tissue is. We send the camera in with the field detector in it, measures and says this, the rest of the cell is this, but in this point it's slightly different. We measure this thing, we target it, it receives the energy, voila, you don't need any dialysis machine because now it filters properly. Clogged up a little magnetically.
Okay, that's a big
Very recently. Pardon?
That's a big clarification for me. Thank you.
Yes. Very recently, part of our work with the understanding of most of the science, we were looking at brain of the man with some doctors, specialists, who work on the emotion and physicality and everything else. I explained, when you look at the structure of the MRI, the clarity of the MRI, people say, oh, it's an old machine or it's this and that. But in fact, the clarity of MRI shows you the interaction of the fields of the brain. Physically, brain doesn't show much. But when you look at the layers of it, and then you see suddenly become clear. I'm going to take this one. This is for our doctors team and people who understand and look at these things. It's very simple. When you look at the MRI, for example, when we look at the MRI, in this picture on the top, we see clear lines. And then we go further, we see fainted lines. There is no clarity. And then you go up and you see more definition of the line. This shows there's a magnetic field interference in this layer of the brain. And what does this layer impact? What is connected to the liver, to the kidney? But you see part of this clear, this part you don't see that much. Doctors are not trained to understand this. When I look at the MRI, it's the history of the man in the brain of the man. I can tell you if the kidney is not working, which part of the kidney, if it's not the liver, which part of the liver. I prefer to look at the MRI than the physical body of the man. MRI of the brain of the man, MRI of the physicality of the man. Then you can see it. Knowledge is that simple. We don't have. And then you change the environment. The guy doesn't even remember. This is understanding what we need to put, what we need to add, what we need to extend the knowledge to. And then I can measure the fields here, and there's a slight misbalance. I can create a balance in the environment of it that will go in this position. It's the same with the soul. If you understood how to work with the soul of the man, you don't need to work with the physicality. The soul does its job and the physicality follows. You take less medicine. You didn't do anything. You just created for the soul to absorb energy that in that point of interaction delivers what it's supposed to do. But we cover it under everything else for man to cover because they don't understand yet. Any other question? Hello, Planet Earth.
Yes, hi, Mr. Keshe. Good afternoon or good lunch.
Hello, Planet Earth.
Yes, you can hear me?
Yeah, I've listened to you for years, so I can hear you loud and clear. I just depend when I want to ignore it, it suits me. Yeah, carry on. First of all, can you introduce yourself? As usual, you don't get any privileges.
You usually do that. My name is Carolina Keshe. I have a question, Ms. Keshe.
Yeah, and
Because
you're a
you're
Universal Council member for Stalin, Dutch Stalin,
Nederlands speaking.
Netherlands.
Nederlandstalige.
Yes, okay, carry on.
It's very hard to convert it into English.
Okay, carry on, please.
As you're on the section of the brain, as you're in the section of the brain, when you have a brain hemorrhage, or you have migraine, or you have those, as they say, cluster pains in the head, how can you reposition those? Because a lot of people are complaining about those kind of conditions.
The whole thing, the brain is a connection between the physicality and the soul of the man. And when you don't sort out the problem in the physical part, it kicks you in the emotional part, which is the brain. You have to understand what is not sorted and how is not sorted in the dimension of the physicality. Many migraines come directly from the fault or lack of the operation of the kidney. Because it does not dispose of what it's supposed to do, so it creates a backlog, and in that backlog, don't forget, kidney has two functions. As I explained before to our doctors, maybe we explain this way. The position of the kidney, they all say it clears blood. Yeah? But in fact, it clears the emotional part. But kidney, where it is, it absorbs and cleans out the lymph, what the physicality doesn't need to. It's not just what blood brings. It absorbs energy as much as it gives to outside. It's the same as the body of the man. So when you cannot understand there's a problem, something in the digestion system, in the physicality, so most of the time it blocks this one, and this one sends the information, blah, I have a problem. Migraine is literally connected in that way. Majority of the problem with migraine. There is something wrong in the digestion of emotion, or is something wrong in the digestion of the physicality. And when the two don't match, where does it end up? What is the position of migraine? Where do you get a migraine? Right in your eyes. I cannot see the disbalance between the two. Migraine doesn't happen in your ears, does it? It's a conflict between the two. Or misbalance.
But it's usually in the back where they can measure that the veins are too open.
Voila! You missed the word. Vein, the carrier of emotion, blood.
Yeah, the veins are opened up too much, the blood flow is too high, and that creates the pressure in the rest of the parts.
Now we understand.
Or it is left.
Yes, most of the migraine problem comes from the kidney. Because it does not allow filter what is, because emotion creates waste too. It's a field. You eat food, you have excrement. Blood is the same. Emotion creates waste, but man never understands. When it goes into, it's not just where does the material come that the blood disposes in the kidney. Emotion has a strength. It's got a waste. If you don't clean the waste, you clog it up. So, or you create the heat of it. You got the high blood pressure, called the migraine, hot brain pressure or emotion pressure. It's the same.
Yeah, but it even happens with people with low blood pressure.
No, it's not a blood pressure. I'm talking is like a blood pressure, but in the nervous system, in the emotion level.
So
You
how
understand?
can you turn the kidneys out?
That processes, are you handling the emotion of the kidney or are you handling the physicality of the kidney?
You need to know where
Because
it's
of course then you have this gland on top of it which is responsible for the emotional part. You handle the gland, not the kidney. The physical kidney is for the waste from the body. The gland is for the conversion of what to take from the emotion in the blood of the body of the man. Very simple.
So how can you support that?
You have to understand what is wrong with the kidney. What is wrong? What there is a misbalance. Oh, I don't advise in medical side. I just explain the science.
No, it's just because I passed documentary about in Germany. There is a huge amount of people which are developing migraine conditions, and they do not know where it's coming from.
But you got to see what they're eating and what that food put pressure on them. We see now openly in public the beautiful German Chancellor shaking physically. She's been seen in 3 episodes of, they can't even stop it in public in past 2 weeks. This in public, we're not talking it's the first time we see one of the world leaders in this position. There's a lot of things that we have to understand why this condition is created. 3 in past 2 weeks. Is it the onset of the Parkinson? Is it poison? These are the side effects of one of the world leaders to be poisoned. Or the control of the neurosystem has led to the condition they are controlling. We can speak about it openly. You can just go on the internet and watch. Past 2 weeks, 3 weeks, she has physically. It cannot be cold, and the cold case once it could be, but now it's an onset. Are we seeing one of the warriors for the first time with Parkinson? Or it's a sign of poison attack? We have to wait on how much of it they can control. She always been on the side of the foundation. It's very sad to see her that way. We can help if what this depends on the German structure. And she's in such a public condition. Why does it bring this position? Is it one of the reasons it's been in the background? That's why she's stepping down. But now it publicly shows why she's stepping down. We will lose one of the most beautiful leaders we had at the present time. And this process needs to be understood. What emotional condition creates this position? If you go on the newsreel, it's a public news, you can pick it up, you can see it. Merkel shakes beyond control. Should I even offer her a glass of water trying to shake? She stopped the shake. She can't, she refuses. Is it the emotion of time taking so much pressure? or is other set of sequences and consequences of it. I think it's time for us to endeavor to see if our what do you call it? We got some problems in the background. Just wait 1 second, please. Let's see. There's a problem in our broadcasting side. Just 1 second. Is everything okay, Rick? Are you back in?
Yes, I'm back in. I had some internet outage here. It just knocked out for 5 minutes or so, so lost that part of the live stream broadcast.
We got to reload it again.
We'll reload it later. We have 3 hours and a half or something in the whatever we have up to the last 10 minutes or so.
You can go on the YouTube and come bring it back up. Yeah, use a recording on that side, no problem. I just wondered if we can go to Ella for the July edition of the journal. She says she's ready. Are you there, Ella? Would you like to come in and...
Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for the explanation.
You're welcome, Mrs. Keshe.
Hello everyone. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Yes, we are ready. We have started the second year of Cave Plasma Time editions. So we are at the 13th edition. And if you want, I can just go ahead.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe, if you could adjust your microphone away from your mouth a little bit there. Catching your breathing. Thank you.
Okay. So welcome everyone for a new presentation of KF Plasma Times. It's the July edition 2019, the 13th edition. And we have quite some interesting articles for this month. The layout, you will observe that it changed a little bit. So we said for this new year, the second year, we will try to go with a different design. So if you like it, we await your feedback. And it's not a very happy moment, but we are reminding ourselves every year of Fabio. And it's a happy moment when we think about the time we spent with him. It's not a happy moment that he's not with us anymore here. So in his memory, we are commemorating once again the third year that he is no longer with us here.
Can I give you good news maybe for his soul?
Yes.
We know the people who planned his murder. That's one consolation to the family. We have tracked it down, and this will go as part of our appeal into the European Court of Justice. The people who did such a thing, we have enough evidence to confirm to where it goes to, who's done it, and it all ends up in Belgium, unfortunately. But that's a consolation after 3 years. We have enough solid evidence to show that there was an attempt on, of course, murdering me, but Fabio and Naomi got trapped in it. And we have enough evidence to show the connection that is irrevocable and cannot be reversed. Keshe Foundation securities and international securities have found enough clear evidence. We have enough clear evidence irrevocably that connects him, his murder, directly into and collaboration. And you don't want me to tell you who's done it. You don't need much to guess. The same people as poisoned me, they've done it. But now we take this, as now we're in the European Court of Justice, directly into, and it'll be escalated to what it is. The gorgeous boy, man, which literally his loss affect the whole operation of the Keshe Foundation. Carry on, please.
Thank you. We have as articles from the workshops under the KF News category, the understanding of the plasmatic condition of the elements in the periodic table as well as in the human body. This is an excerpt from 281st Knowledge Seekers workshop. And there's a special article. It's something that we don't do very often, or not at all, but we have made an exception for this edition, is a topic from the private teachings regarding the plastic pollution, understanding more about the plastic pollution, more than what they tell us. As well, for this edition, we had the suggestion from our KFSA education member, Pete, and his suggestion was to create a new category in the KF Plasma Times. This category is called Questions and Answers, or any questions that come from workshops or public teachings. We create the articles and therefore we have them also documented. So the first article in this category is how does 0 point compare to the process of scintillation as described in the patents? This was one of the questions in 281st Knowledge Seekers workshop. So with this, we are opening this new category. With this occasion, we would like to remind everyone that if you can't participate online to this workshop, you can submit all your questions to our education team. It's education@kfssi.org. And your questions will be addressed to Mr. Keshe during the public workshops as appropriate. So we are looking forward for your feedback as knowledge seekers, and we would gladly answer the questions that you have regarding plasma technology. From the KFSI education, our team is transmitting the information about what exciting teachings we have in the private and public teachings in English and in the languages. So those of you who are not students yet, you have the information how to apply. It's a very easy process, and we look forward to have you as knowledge seekers in our study program. Under the KF Plasma products, we have one of our, let's call it veteran product. The pain relief pad is one of our earliest products, and it has been tested for many years. It has been researched for many years before it was produced, and it has fantastic results. So if you don't have one, please follow the link and get your own. In the language community, we have a very nice collaboration among multiple language groups, and therefore they have met in France at a location where they are trying to build a plasma oasis. So we have members from French-speaking community, Spanish-speaking community, Romanian-speaking community, and more that simply joined together to build this oasis, and it is free for everyone to come and visit it if you are interested or if you want to contribute. Under the Plasma Scientific Journal, we had a very nice surprise from Mr. Keshe, and that's an article regarding the explanation of Michelson-Morley experiment. For more details, please read the article inside KF Plasma Times, and Mr. Mehran Keshe is the co-author for this paper. So, Mr. Keshe, if you would like to say more about this article, if not.
Yes, this goes according to what we had with Pete, that we tried to answer. This is the question which is raised by one of the Iranian scientists. It's a gentleman who translates the books, and he's knowledgeable. He's in physics, and he just doesn't translate the books. He goes and searches what I say is correct, and in his search now he's translated both books. Book number 2 is complete translation, is going through his phases of being checked. He asked a question, so I read this. I translated book number 2, but there is such a thing in the, what do you call it, conversion of the light into particles and the rest of it, which we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. And I said to him, ask your question and we publish as a paper. So he's in a way, is what just was announced, is a direct answering to scientific world, or when you find scientific papers needs to be explained with a new technology. We used to do that in the teachings in the past with medical side, that the doctors, the medical people would explain the, what you call, the application in present medicine, and then we explain it in the dimension of the science of the plasma technology. This is, we started doing this now. You see another paper in next edition, hopefully, in response to one of the world leading scientists. His paper will be published. We were trying to do it this month, but we're still waiting for one piece to come in. You'll see it in August edition, where in the teaching we respond back to. This is the paper about the zero time energy, which a couple of teaching before we answered. Now we publish this as papers that it stays in and it can be referred to in the future by, and this paper is one of the first papers in questions which scientifically asked. He's provided the question, what the topic has been, the paper, and we answer it scientifically back. There's a couple of paragraphs needs to be corrected. It'll be done hopefully by next couple of days, and then you get the full paper. And this is how the trend is going to be. We try to not to dismiss that we are the only one. We try to connect that we add to the knowledge. And this is the beauty of this new way of answering scientific works and the scientists who come and ask questions. We, one of the leading world scientists who is leading a spokesman or scientist in zero time energy, we have met him. He has reviewed the technology and he wanted the explanation of it, and we explained it last time. Next time we publish his paper about zero time energy and the explanation which is done in the teaching. So we, as I said, we start collaboration with world scientists, which is coming up. There is one with the German speaking team teaching, most probably when they meet next time, they have a scientist who wants to explain in the present dimension of the technology which is involved, and then we try to understand it and explain it in the plasma side of technology. So in next few weeks, in the next German teaching, I'll be there in a way to translate the knowledge to the plasma technology. And as I said, there is no barriers and no borders. Wherever we can, we'll be there to support, to explain. And as one nation, we go everywhere. There is no boundaries and no borders. And you'll see more and more of scientific reply to both scientists in the problems of what needs, how it needs to be translated. But we publish the original paper in the original language and then the English version. And then we'll see how we develop this into a bigger scale of the, what you call a scientific paper as a plasma scientific paper, and the journal as we are going through it. Carry on, please.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. We are looking forward for more information that can clarify all these theories that they taught us in school, in which they had all kind of assumptions which they couldn't verify. So your explanations will finally clarify the things for us. The next Plasma Scientific Journal is from Aryan, and it was submitted regarding the production of a GANS composite by the use of oxidization. And the last but not the least Plasma Scientific Journal in this edition is the use of plasma technology in vineyards. It is just with preliminary results. It will have a follow-up paper in which they will discuss more about the final results. And in the testimonial sections, we received a very interesting and nice Plasma to the Rescue testimonial. And it was about applying the GANS reactors for saving a kitten that got wounded. So in about 24 to 48 hours, the kitten recovered and it's now thriving. So we can help also the other beings that are here with us on this planet. As always, we encourage you to join our education team. We encourage you to join us as students and to, if you have the time, to help with the hosting from time to time, whenever you can. And as well, if you are doing research in the plasma technology, or simply you are doing research in something that you would like to have it explained in plasma technology, you can write a paper, send it to us. It will be published in the Plasma Scientific Journal in Plasma Times. And from there, people can experiment and get more feedback. Okay. And the last but not the least, Mr. Keshe's books, book 1, 2, and 3 are available on Amazon Kindle. And they can be downloaded and they can be read on any device. You're not restricted by the software, so you can read it on any device that you have. So if you are interested in reading the books, scan the barcode or simply click the link that will be in the KF Plasma Times and you'll be redirected to the site where you can purchase them online in electronic version. And that's it for July edition. Thank you very much, and we look forward to many more editions.
Thank you very much. Now you can go to sleep. You've been going non-stop for nearly 2 days. Thank you very much for all your effort. If you have forgotten, we haven't forgotten, today is 4th of July, which is a good day for the Americans. Happy 4th of July to all of you. I hope you have a good time, you enjoy your times. And remember, freedom is for all nations and not exclusivity of one. Anything else?
We just have Peter Salisher with his hand up here. If you can take one more question before we end, or
yes, please.
Okay.
Hello.
Not sure what happened there. He might have. You still there, Peter? I think he might have dropped out. I don't see him here now. Somehow something happened.
Okay, no problem. We are nearly approaching 4 hours of transmission before we go to the next one. Thank you very much for today. And as we said, we try to bring you more what I call active movement and what we are doing and what is going to happen. And in the next week or two, as we structure the Keshe Foundation worldwide and in China, we start asking and developing different aspects of the physical structure of the technology and move on to the next steps, and hopefully we can bring develop sciences that it can support all of us in developing a better future for mankind. And in so many ways, as I said, we are free to share knowledge. The freedom has to be for the benefit of mankind. And hopefully we get more people to understand more, to help themselves, And for those who can't, we structure it that we can help to make that difference. Thank you very much indeed. And thank you to all the team in the background. And hopefully, I'm hoping that we'll be able to announce another good piece of information which helps the development and spread of the technology worldwide. And I'm sure that will be much sooner than later in totality of understanding of the knowledge. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, once again. Okay, then that, I believe, will bring to a close the 283rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, July 4th, 2019. Independence Day for some, maybe for all. Okay, thank you everybody for attending, and we'll see you next week at this same time and location.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate. The knowledge of the universe is part of us. It was given to every being as we are part of the Creator, and the Creator is us. The Keshe Foundation was created to become an oasis of universal knowledge and the place where the science meets the soul of the man. Mehran Tavakoli Keshe, the founder and director of the Keshe Foundation, has set humanity on the path of peace, teaching us all that there are sufficient and abundant resources available to everyone without the need for abuse of other beings for the benefit of one. It all started with one man and his comprehensive research, shared within smaller groups of people at the Keshe Foundation Center, and soon expanded to an entire community of knowledge seekers working in the direction of peace. In 2014, following the nuclear disaster in Fukushima, a complete blueprint teaching is released with information on how to decontaminate radioactive environments. Live broadcast of the decontamination is made from an independent laboratory in Japan, proving that the technology works. In 2015, Magrav's blueprint teachings bring to life the possibility of harvesting plasma fields that are found freely in the environment as continuous sources of energy needed for space travel. The Peace Blueprint, Spaceship Blueprint, and Agriculture Blueprints follow. KFSSI education has expanded since to teachings in over 18 languages, spreading the new Keshe plasma science and technology to every corner of the world. Keshe Foundation Wikipedia was created and is building up with the support of the community. The first plasma science journal that accepts Keshe plasma scientific papers without peer review became a part of the monthly Keshe Foundation publication, KF Plasma Times, already reaching its 12th edition in June 2019. All this time, Mehran Keshe has openly invited all the world's governments to join the Keshe Foundation in the ethos of peace and equality to learn the path to the universal community. The Keshe Foundation Manufacturing Austria, active since 2017, has been working closely with the Chinese Research Center. World-leading plasma scientists with intrinsic motivation work around the clock with their heart and soul to develop and improve the plasma products. Research and development in Austria confirm the power of the Keshe plasma technology and encourages the team to follow the vision to be a valuable part of the worldwide network of communities with the aim of establishing peace on Earth through the benefits of Keshe plasma technology. The research and results presented in the past months confirm the correctness of the technology, which cannot be ignored. in China, high-scale trials have been conducted and validated for their results. In October 2018 in China, the processing of diabetes was brought to the public, where the person's eye could not open and the diabetic wound on the leg would not close for 3 months. In only 6 weeks, with GAN's plasma processing, diabetes was reversed, and with it, the eye and leg wounds recovered as well. In China, the agricultural trials showed an early maturing time of wheat processed with GAN's water. The rice, millet grains, beans and corn processed with GAN's water showed an increase in size and higher resistance to plant diseases. The end of 2018 revealed the success in processing African swine fever using Keshe plasma technology in China. In November 2018, the first pig in China was processed, saving its life after months of suffering. The second case involved 30 pigs that recovered entirely. The third case in China consisted of 829 pigs that had confirmed from the laboratory blood tests as being infected with African swine fever. The pigs were dying until the research team intervened and started the GAN's plasma processing, saving 725 pigs and bringing them back to a healthy condition in only 7 days. All the work that has been done by the Keshe Foundation teams has the purpose of bringing humanity in line with the universal community, to be able to travel the space of the universe, to be able to handle defense systems in deep space, to be prepared for any unpredicted situations, and to be able to sustain a healthy and comfortable life during space exploration. After all these years of hard work, the Keshe Foundation is proud to invite you all today to celebrate, as knowledge seekers, the long-awaited milestone. It is a day when we make history. It is the day that many generations after us will remember as the day the future of humanity changed. These undoubted successes worldwide and in China have brought the Keshe Foundation a partnership with the most powerful nation in the world, the Chinese nation, establishing the first joint company in partnership with Chinese government organizations under the name Keshe GAN's Technology. The new company, which is financed by the Chinese government organizations, has a registered capital of 100 million euros and invested capital of 1 billion euros for building the first Keshe Foundation industrial zones in China. Furthermore, by written agreement, the Chinese partnership has made available billions of dollars for total development and commercialization of the technology in China. Keshe Foundation, as equal 50% partner in the established company, will provide the technology and the science, while all the financial, economic and political support will be provided by the Chinese partners. This is to start the construction of the Keshe Foundation industrial zones in China. Each industrial zone will provide all that a nation requires according to its location and needs. The clear proof of technology has brought the leading nation of the world to back and finance every aspect needed to spread and commercialize Keshe plasma science and technology in China and worldwide. The state-of-the-art construction of the Keshe Foundation industrial zones provided by the Chinese nation will include the development and application of every aspect of the Keshe GAN's technology, with GAN's manufacturing facilities and the addition of technological divisions needed by the nation, including agriculture, health, decontamination, energy, transportation, and space travel, etc. It is the wish of the Chinese leadership to spread the wealth and expertise of the Chinese nation to other nations of the world through the One Belt, One Road initiative of His Excellency President Xi of China. Keshe Foundation, with its technology and its industrial capabilities, which are now financed by China, will support the initiative of the President in delivering the same to other nations through the cooperative between Keshe Foundation China and the One Belt, One Road program. With this joint collaboration of the Keshe Foundation Technologies and One Belt, One Road initiative, nations will not be burdened with debt. Instead, this alliance will bring to the nations the possibility of growth and development equally via the One Belt, One Road initiative through science, commerce and education. As this announcement is being made, a number of countries are in negotiation and a memorandum of understanding is being signed with Keshe Foundation for this purpose, leading to the construction of industrial zones in their region. The Keshe Foundation, in conjunction with the Chinese partners as financing arm, was setting up the Center of Excellence in China for scientists from all around the world. There will be up to 5 main research centers outside China, and at the same time, China has become the center of excellence for space technology. The initial structure is established to bring the most eminent world scientists to expand the Keshe Foundation plasma technology. There are no limitations on the financial side from the Chinese partners as long as we bring new technologies, new sciences, and new applications for peace. This is the peace dividend. There is no need for any nations to spend money on arms for killing, but there will be sufficient financial backing for saving lives and developing new technologies. In the coming months, Keshe Foundation industrialization will expand beyond anyone's imagination. Most nations will become food secured at national level and will be able to produce their own products, their own materials. New industrial machinery for the Keshe plasma technology is to be developed in China, bringing a new cycle of jobs to produce systems that allow farmers to achieve large-scale production in agriculture. We will build and achieve the same systems for environment, medicine, transportation, space, and materials. We are opening the doors to the new science, and thanks to the Office of His Excellency President Xi of China, the Keshe Foundation has been given the opportunity to move forward. A new industrial revolution is here. This is now becoming possible as the Keshe Foundation received a powerful ally in China, standing alongside the true knowledge and supporting further developments to bring a prosperous and fearless life to humankind. We are looking forward to making one nation in structure by spreading knowledge and technology. As one structure, we are very powerful because for the first time the power of changing our lives, looking after our health, looking after our agriculture, looking at the clean water, looking after our shelter is in our hands. The change is here. The change is now. Celebrate with us the new beginning for mankind. Keshe Gans Technologies Limited.